Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Da, 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 da. All right. Sorry I'm late today, girls. I had to gather all of the clips, and I'm still missing one more that I wanted to find, but girl, I did not have the time to find it. So you're just gonna have to believe me, okay? Trust me, bro. All right. Oh, let's do this. Oh my God. Oh my God, thank you. Discord says you kind of look like a boy today. Thank you, I appreciate that. Chat says the cute blue, it suits you, Brit. Thank you, I appreciate you guys. It's one of my favorite head scarves because it has a lot of push and pull. It has a lot of, it's very like elasticy. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, now, today's topic is going to be, I think, pretty heavy for a lot of people. So let's just take like really deep breaths and remember that we really are just people on a planet trying to figure it out. And we have to pay attention to why this keeps happening and why we are all guilty of it, myself included. Okay, we're going to talk about when creators and pieces of media are made and they are tone deaf. I also just want to clarify something before I begin that topic from yesterday's stream. Yes, was that yesterday? God, I guess it was already. Okay, hold on. Let me actually pull that up because I totally blanked. Let me pull that up. Let me pull that up. And some loneliness. Okay, so I, on yesterday's stream, went back and forth with a person in the comment section who just needed clarification on something. So let me just talk about that real fast and then we'll jump into the main topic, okay? So this was yesterday's stream, so Inception time. They also struggle to make friends. They also struggle to have communities. Femme people, non-binary people, like so many nerdy, autistic, AFAB people I know are very lonely. Okay, and just they asked for clarification on how I use AFAB, AMAB. I've been trying to practice different, this is current Brittany talking. I've been trying to practice like different ways to include the reality that I look at AFAB, AMAB as sort of like the paperwork side of our reality where we're all born into a universe in which we're documented on paperwork before we have a chance to really express ourselves. And I just wanted to say that in that context, because the person was concerned, and I know they felt like they got it eventually, but I just want to clarify for everybody else. In these moments, because we were talking about the men's loneliness epidemic, and I said women struggle too, and then I said AFAB or AMAB, which it might sound to some people like I'm saying, like, you know, like I'm trying to be binary about the trans experience, or I'm trying to say something like trans women are men or trans men are women or something like that. But what I'm just trying to say is that I want to include the reality that like gender fluid people are people who are assigned female at birth, you know, people who have that like experience of growing up as that thing in society tend to be overlooked when it comes to friendships and relationships because, you know, we technically are known for being really good at forming friendships and communities. But also there is a loneliness issue within our communities too, but there is an overlap between those genders. And then like, obviously gender fluid people and non-binary people and like all of these things come into play. So I was just trying to be like very, you know, I was trying to, but I understand why that might have been miscommunicated. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that I am not trying to be wishy-washy with my language and trying to imply something about people's genders or, you know, that somebody doesn't exist in some way, obviously. But that was my intention. In the future, I'm trying to figure out better ways to say it. Like, I certainly don't want to play. It's interesting because, like, you know, the word AMAB or AFAB like implies like a cis trans experience that like differs from the reality that maybe gender isn't something that needs to be the opposite of, but rather the a difference of expression. Like in the future, if we deconstructed our transphobia, you know, what would this really all mean at the end of the day? And that's really the conversation we should have in general. Anytime we're covering these topics is like, okay, the reality we live in, the reality that would be nice, the reality we live in when we're at home alone, and then what does that look like? Okay. So just wanted to clarify, but if you have any questions, just like let me know, of course. I never want anyone to feel like I'm trying to like dog whistle some anti-trans shit or something, you know what I mean? Okay, now. today's topic actually kind of plays into that issue we're going to find. So I put out this podcast, great podcast. Now, in case you don't understand how my week goes, I give myself 3 days to make the pods because I am a procrastinating neurodivergent, which means unless I have to do it, unless there's a deadline, my brain does not kick into high gear. Okay, so it's not great. It's bad, but that means I only have 3 days to work on a podcast that I've been thinking about for a while. Usually I think about a podcast idea for a while, and it usually takes me about like a week or two to think about it and what I want to say. And sometimes I even start thinking about a pod like months in advance, right? But sometimes that means because I only have 3 days to get it together and post it, it means that I don't always get to be as in-depth as I want. Look, if I wasn't a streamer and I was just a podcaster, then I would be putting out fucking hour-and-a-half podcasts every week, the fucking most detailed, action-packed visual pod you've ever seen. But the truth is like I already work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I already stream 5 days a week, and that just takes so many spoons. I'm prepping for each stream. I'm doing all this research. And so that means that right now what I'm able to produce is like a really well-made 30 to 45-minute podcast, okay? And that means that there are segments that I have to leave out that I wish I could go deeper into, but sometimes I make like a tongue-in-cheek joke towards. So I made one of those tongue-in-cheek jokes in this podcast. I didn't actually figure out what timestamp it was, so it's somewhere in this video here, okay? It's somewhere in this Kristen Bell, blah, blah, blah pod, this one here. Soulmate, okay, it's somewhere here. In this podcast, I made a joke that if you got, you got. And if you didn't get, you didn't get. But I figured it would ruffle maybe a few feathers, or most people would just understand what it was. But the joke was basically like, if I had time, I would have gone into this segment, made it really detailed. But when I was watching the show, Nobody Wants This, I found it very tone deaf that they were highlighting and focusing on a fourth wave feminist who didn't know anything about Jewish culture, who didn't know anything about standing up as a woman, who was willing to let go of her $60 million deal for a man, who was willing to jeopardize her relationship with the women in her life, who was in competition with women constantly throughout the show, okay? And on top of that, I thought it was quite tone deaf, given everything that's happening with this administration in America, right? That they would bring up no serious issues in relation to birth control, reproductive rights, being a woman, like nothing serious happened in this show. And then on top of that, they highlighted a Jewish romance, which in and of itself is not bad, right? Okay. Obviously, if people don't know my background, I'm Assyrian, so I'm not Jewish, often mistaken for Jewish, but I'm Assyrian. And much like Palestinians or Jews or Assyrians, we're Semites. Okay, we're Semitic. And I understand that anti-Semitism is up. 100%, that's bad, right? And at the same time, the joke I made in this podcast was basically I can't believe they're focusing on a man becoming a rabbi, like right now, seems like whatever. And then I kind of cut away because, I zoomed in, I made it apparent that I was I had a thought, but I didn't share. And so this person on this comment section said, out of curiosity, what was the rest of your comment in regards to him becoming a rabbi in today's current climate going to be? Odd cut, would love to know the complete thought. So I replied to this person with deeply good faith. And I kind of had a feeling they weren't being good faith, but I'm going to do today's stream as if they are good faith, even though I'm not convinced they are given their response to me. And I said, there's a genocide happening in Palestine and Israel's committing it. It just felt very tone deaf to me. Obviously, the issue isn't that he's Jewish. It just felt very specific given everything that's happening. In the show, it's highlighting a Jewish family. It's good publicity for the Jewish religion. It felt purposely done. That was my impression of the show, that it felt purposely done, that in this climate, when a genocide is happening, they're trying to make the Jewish bubble look very inviting. She's talking about converting, right? That's what I did not know this for a fact. Okay, I did not know this for a fact. But I confirmed it this morning when I looked up the writer and her intention for the show, and I was correct that was her fucking intention, which tells me, just wait, that not only was I correct, but that it was so obvious, and I remain correct that it was tone deaf. We'll talk about it in a second. So This person responds to me and says, I'm failing to see the connection. I don't think he ever mentioned being Israeli in the show. Muslim Americans shouldn't be associated with what Islamic extremists do in other countries. What made you bring up the genocide in relation to the American practicing their Jewish faith? Should Jewish people not advance in their faith? Example, seeking to become a rabbi because the horrible acts committed across the world. I enjoy your content, but I think equating innocent American Jewish behaviors with a genocide is a strange and dangerous talking point. And I was like, pourquoi? So then I said, I'll respond to this over my stream channel where I normally respond to comments that need longer explanations. I'm going to assume you're being good faith because I sure am. So I hope you have time to check it out. I stream Monday through blah, 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 blah. So I said that and I didn't go deeply into it. And now I almost wish I had, because I was, of course, correct, because I watch a lot of content. I understand everything is done on purpose, right? I understand as a content creator, most shit is done on purpose. Not everything. Sometimes we do stuff that's unintentional, but like you're a Hollywood exec, you're writing a show, you have a team, you have people who go through the script. It's done on purpose. Okay. So then I looked up the writer because I was curious on what was going on. Nobody wants this creator in the series, slow burning romance and a positive Jewish story. This is the Hollywood Reporter. Okay, this is not a show to tackle the conflict in Israel and Palestine. I'm not the person to tell that story. You scroll down, it's basically based off her own romantic story. Okay. And kind of like she wanted it to be a positive story about a Jewish representation. She said that she also auditioned people like outside of America, other Jewish men, not just Americans, but they thought that what's his name was the best one to do it. Then she wanted to call the show Shitska, which we'll go into in a second about the misogyny of it all, which was supposed to be non-Jewish woman, but really said like it was the B word, girls. Really said like it was the W word. Like really said like it was the S word. Okay, we'll get into that because Jewish women were also upset at the representation in the show, which I will highlight in this stream. Okay? So that's the other thing I want you to remember is like, I'm not the only one saying this as an Assyrian. Jewish women were also very annoyed. They were also very annoyed with the representation. And they're like, why are you making us sound like the most annoying, overbearing people? And I was like, yeah, what is this? What is this story? Okay. And then not to mention the absolute adolescent behavior from all the men in the show and the women bearing all the responsibility. Okay. So then she goes, I was really attached to it being called Shiksa because it was Shiksa for 3 years. And I like the punchiness of it. At the end of the day, Netflix really knows what they're doing and knew this wasn't commercial enough. It's hard to say internationally, and it would have been really confusing for people. Okay, then this series came out at a time where there's a lot of conversation around Jewish identity. How do you feel that played into the response of the show? She says, it was really important to me and continues to be really important to tell positive Jewish stories. I know it can be polarizing, but it shouldn't be. I just want to point out that at the time that this was being made, the show Mo also came out about Palestinian representation and an immigrant story. And that I haven't seen it yet, but I have it on my to watch list. And that was another response. By the way, just so you understand how my day goes, I don't get time to watch a lot of shows that I sit down and watch, which is why I haven't watched Mo yet. But the only reason I watched this show was to research for my podcast. That's the only reason I watched it. This was never on my to watch list. I was never going to watch this fucking romance show. I already knew it was going to highlight a toxic relationship. It was already on my like absolutely not list, but I watched it for work. That's why I watched this show. Okay. She said, this is not the show to tackle the conflict in Israel and Palestine. I'm not the person to tell that story. Conflict, please know, is a buzzword. It's a dog whistle for ignoring the genocide. Thank you. Okay. I'm not the person to tell that story. And after the attacks on October 7th happened, there were conversations around if we were going to dive into, and the truth is, the way I can get my message across best is by shedding a positive light on Jewish characters and Jewish traditions. I don't think somebody watching wants to see another voice give their opinion on what's happening. The question is, do you think viewers might have had a hard time finding Noah and Joanne's relationship believable? She said that was top of mind for me because we watch a lot of rom-coms where you really just can't picture these two people actually liking each other. Sometimes we get really carried away with the formalities of opposite attract, and we take it to such an extreme that you go, these people would never, these people really would never have been able to make it work. So I couldn't make Joanne that wild and crazy, and I couldn't make Noah too conservative because they really wouldn't have had anything in common. They didn't have anything in common. It didn't have anything in common. Okay. So what happens now is you have a show that I, as a viewer, felt was intentionally creating buzz around and pushing a narrative. Look, I understand anti-Semitism is up, but Islamophobia and anti-Semitism doesn't just belong to Jewish people, even though people think it does. In my mind, if Palestinians are Semitic, then we have to have a conversation about the anti-Semitism we allow and the one we don't. We shouldn't allow any of it. You shouldn't be allowed to be hateful towards Jews, and you shouldn't be allowed to be hateful towards Palestinians. This isn't helping any of us, okay? So this conversation about her wanting to make a show that highlighted the positive Jewish stories was well read by me as a viewer. So for this commenter to be in my chat acting like I'm doing something anti-Semitic when she's obviously being media literate is outrageous, especially since she said, I enjoy your content, but I think equating innocent American Jewish behaviors with a genocide is a strange and dangerous talking point. You know what a dangerous talking point is? Being tone deaf to the fact that there's a genocide happening. And I understand because I'm a tone deaf girly. I'm autistic AF. I have had countless moments on stream where I've been absolutely tone deaf. I've made so much tone deaf content. I know how tone deaf we all are, but we should do something about it. We should maybe say like, shit, I was tone deaf. I did not pay attention to the details. I made this content. I was thinking about this conversation. At the end of the day, people are being targeted and genocided. This is not a moment for us to be like defensive over the lack of, what's the connection? Okay, so what's the connection, girls? Let's talk about it. Seriously, what's the connection? Okay. For me, when I was watching the show, it felt a little bit like, let's say at the height of the Catholic scandal, while the Catholic Church was always in the news and everybody was always talking about predator priests, Netflix made a show about a summer camp run by Catholic priests in which the Catholic priests bonded with the little boys at the summer camp and really inspired them to follow their dreams. That's what it felt like. It's like, hey, though this story at another time might not have been weird, this story right now feels a little, say it with me, tone deaf. It just feels a bit inappropriate, really. It just feels like, why was this the decision? But we know the decision. She did it on purpose with the intention of highlighting positive stories about Jewish voices, right? She said it. I did it on purpose. I purposely didn't talk about the genocide. I purposely didn't bring up anything seriously important in the show. And I purposely made it so people would have a positive relationship with Jewish culture. Even though, allegedly, a large percentage of Israelis support what Netanyahu's doing, even though allegedly American Jews are very torn on the situation, I think a majority of them are pretty much in favor of protecting Israel, even if it comes at the expense of the Palestinians. Even though younger Israelis and younger people are protesting and facing jail time and doing all these really great things in the name of innocent Palestinians, at the end of the day, this commenter trying to pull like hey, out of curiosity, what did you mean by that? And then to come back full-fledged with a paragraph ready to go tells me not good faith, girly. Okay? You knew what you were asking. You can't be like, hey, out of curiosity, then why'd you have this ready to go? And also, what does Muslim Americans have to do with anything? Because please don't bring up Muslims as if you're saying like, well, should Muslims be associated with extremists? Muslims have to work so hard to separate themselves from the extremists. And not even that. Let's say after 9/11, there was a romantic story starring, I don't know, Sandra Bullock and some guy who probably wasn't even from that area with a turban on his head being like, hey, I really like to fly planes. Do you want to date me and marry me? It's like, yeah, that would be probably fucking tone deaf. Like she meets like a pilot, like an Arab pilot who loves to fly planes. And he's like a risk taker, you know what I mean? And Sandra Bullock's like, I just love him. He's so different. Yeah, that'd be fucking weird. I think I might convert. Yeah, that might be a little tone deaf right after 9/11. It just feels like you're not paying attention to the fact that I said tone deaf. My only criticism was tone deafness. And their reaction was like, what about Muslims? It's like, yeah, you're not, you know what I mean? You're not being good faith about this, bro. You're being completely just like... Anyways, the point is, we have to make a decision. Was this kind? No. Was it intentional by the writer? Yes, she admitted it. Okay? The writer admitted she did all of this on purpose. I wish she had been more kind and considerate to the pain and suffering of the Palestinian people before putting out this rom-com right now. We certainly didn't need it. It certainly highlighted a toxic dynamic, and it didn't do anything for the Jewish community. And I'm not the only one to think so. Okay, a Jewish girl's take on Nobody Wants This. This is Hallie. Okay, she has a whole video on the show And it's like pointing out all the like the weird lines, and I read Jewish blogs on this. They were not happy with the show. So her attempt to even make a good representation of the Jewish community it wasn't even liked by some people. Now, obviously, progressive people are going to have more criticism for media than more liberal or conservative people. So obviously the voices that I'm going to are going to be progressive. So they're going to probably have similar criticisms to me watching the show. But just this section here, I think, is what's important, because the misogyny of it all was really clear to me throughout the show. I just like the lack of consent, the way that people talked about Kristen Bell's character, the way they painted her, you know what I mean? So let's just watch this section here.
Also, Noah's ex-girlfriend Rebecca snooping through Noah's stuff to put on the engagement ring without asking is very much a stereotype of how Jewish women are overbearing and obsessed with getting married. But sometimes the show does subvert these stereotypes. Joanne forms a jealous obsession over Rebecca, who is extremely beautiful. She particularly focuses on being jealous of Rebecca's thick, beautiful hair.
So note here that Kristen Bell's character is supposed to be this fourth wave feminist. Her words, not mine. She literally is like, I want to do something important. My podcast is important for women. Also spends the whole show being jealous of women. And I understand. I really do. Like, I understand the way the show tried to play it off like they're all being girls, but they were all being mean girls. And mean girls are not girls. So it was a show about mean girls pretending to be girls. In this scene in particular, I remember thinking to myself, like, they're trying to make it so the women respect each other, but they don't respect each other. And it ends up being like women fighting over a man. A man who, by the way, is a bad person. I did not highlight this in my podcast, but there's a scene where they're at the sex shop. She needs a dildo or something for her podcast. And she's like so embarrassed to take him there. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm bringing you here, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, they're all trying to get into it. Then he runs into another guy from his church or from the synagogue, right? And they're shocked they saw each other at the sex, you know, and then he's with his wife. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe we ran into each other in public at a sex shop with dildos in our hands. Okay. Then they're talking, he leaves, and then Noah, the love interest, is like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I want to be the main rabbi. So he's already a rabbi, but he wants to be the head rabbi. And the head rabbi has to marry a woman that's like a pious woman. She's good and she represents the temple. Okay. So the Noah goes, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Then they start Googling. She starts Googling this man that he ran into from synagogue and finds out the man is having an affair on his wife. And he's happy. Oh, thank God I can blackmail him now. I didn't even highlight this in my pod. I could have made a 20-hour podcast on how shitty the show is. He literally celebrates the fact that he can now blackmail this man for cheating on his wife so he can't tell his rabbi he was at a sex club or a sex store. Then, as the show goes on, the main rabbi that has to make a decision on Noah's future of being the replacement for him calls him and goes, I don't know what you said to this man here, but he just donated a ton of money. So Noah would keep quiet. The other man who was caught donated a ton of money, and Noah's like, whew, crisis averted. This is your good and moral and pious rabbi? Yeah, I don't know how this is good representation for the Jewish community or for rabbis, but okay. You know, it's just so stupid. Like, what is this? Okay.
Joanne throughout the show makes comments on her own insecurities about her hair. She disparages her thin hair and eyebrows. And when she goes through Rebecca's breakup box, she immediately begins to brush her hair with Rebecca's brush, displaying the jealous obsession on the feature she pursues.
So note here. I also didn't add this into my podcast because there were so many things I could have added. But in this scene, Noah has this box that's all his ex's stuff. And Joanne promises, I'm not going to look in the box, and then invites her mother and sister over to look through the box together. Just process that information. What? And then they're going through all of his private stuff, which she promised him she would not look at, right? Like, what?
Perceives to be superior about Rebecca. And as a Jewish woman, I found it interesting that the hair was her focus. It reminds me of when I was growing up, I would always talk to the girls with straight hair and be like, oh, I wish my hair was straight like yours. And they would often reply that they wish they had curly hair like mine. Maybe it's because everyone wants what they can't have. Maybe it's because our natural features will never be enough for the mythical and ever-changing standard of beauty. I think about Tina Fey's...
Chad said, why does he even have this box in the first place? It's because, because of the way the show is written. Rebecca is this overbearing, holding out for him girly. His mother is telling Rebecca, don't worry, he's going to break up with this Shiska, however you say it, and he's going to come back to you. So Rebecca thinks they're kind of still together. So Rebecca is like, she doesn't even want her stuff really. Because like to her stuff is still with him. And for him, he doesn't want to have the conversation with her to give her the stuff back. But he's the rabbi at the church. So then there's like this whole scene where there's an emergency at the hospital and he gets a phone call. And he's like, they're like, you have to rush to the hospital. You have to rush to the hospital. Rebecca's in the hospital. And then she just like hurt her wrist. And it's like a ridiculous show. The whole thing is silly. And then when he does give her the box back, he doesn't tell Kristen Bell. And then it becomes a huge miscommunication where it's like, did you see your ex behind my back? And he's like, well, I thought you wanted me to give her the box back. It's like this whole stupid, like, blah, 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 blah. It's just dumb, right? Chet said leaving with him as a possessive claim to him or something. Well, I think it was more like, she didn't want the relationship to end, but she doesn't get highlighted like that. The first time we see Rebecca, and I highlighted this in my podcast, is that Rebecca goes into his drawer that's locked, finds a key, opens his drawer, finds an engagement ring and puts it on without his permission. Then he sees and goes, why are you wearing that ring? And she goes, well, we're going to get married anyway. We've been together for 7 years, which is crazy, by the way. Why are you together for 7 years? Like, what is even happening? Okay, there's a whole issue. Everybody's so fucked up. I can't even begin to explain it. But again, this goes back to this idea that the show is completely tone deaf. The show is just completely silly. Nothing about this show feels like it was made in 2024. Everything about the show feels very 2010. Like, we are so past these conversations. Like, there are serious implications of what's happening with this administration right now. And this is the show you make.
Essay, all girls must be everything. And I think about modern plastic surgery and filler trends where it's kind of picking and choosing a bunch of different ethnic features and mashing them together, you know? Creator Aaron Foster did actually respond to the criticism about the show's portrayal of Jewish women by saying this. I think we need positive Jewish stories right now. I think it's interesting when people focus on, oh, this is a stereotype of Jewish people, when you have a rabbi as the lead. A hot, cool, young rabbi who smokes weed. That's the antithesis of how people view a Jewish rabbi, right? If I made the Jewish parents like two granola hippies on a farm, then someone would write, I've never met a Jewish person like that before. You clearly don't know how to write Jewish people, you don't know what you're doing, and that doesn't represent us well. I get what she's saying. I don't know if this response really addressed the root of people's complaints, but honestly, I don't think she deserves the entirety of the blame. As I said,
okay, but you know what's interesting? I like that she described him as like a cool rabbi. He's just a loser, bro. He is not cool. He's lame. He's literally lame. Like, that's what's so interesting is like, is this the cool guy? Is this the cool guy? There's even a scene where Kristen Bell gets the ick. I featured it in my pod. It's so funny. Where she looks at him and she actually like gets the literal ick. And I'm like, girl, I had the ick from day one. I had the ick the moment they started showing his character on screen. He's very weak of character. Actually, weakness of character gives me the huge ick. Like, I get a huge ick. He is absolutely the epitome of weakness of character.
Said before, these stereotypes are not new for this type of story, and honestly, many of these stereotypes about Jewish women were created by and then perpetuated by Jewish men. The show
Hello?
show's creator, Erin Foster, is also Jewish herself. The story for Nobody Wants This is loosely inspired by her love story with her husband. He wasn't a rabbi, but he was Jewish and expressed that he wanted to marry a Jewish woman, so she converted to Judaism so they could be together. Also, his parents emigrated from the former Soviet Union to San Francisco in 1979, so it seems she definitely took inspiration from his parents' circumstances in creating Rabbi Noah's parents. In her response article, she also acknowledges that she understands it's a different experience to grow up Jewish, therefore, heading into the writer's room, she said she purposely surrounded herself with colleagues who were born Jewish. So, from my understanding, there were multiple Jewish writers in the writing room that gave input on writing the show. So, was I personally upset watching the show? While I do understand the concerns that some Jewish women had about the show, I wasn't really personally upset. I think I would be more if I felt there was a lack of positive representation for Jewish women in film and TV, and this was our only source of representation. But I definitely feel that our community very much differs from, say, Asian Americans, Indigenous Americans, or Arab Americans who really only began to more recently receive positive and complex mainstream representation and definitely still need much more. I specifically want to give a shout out to Rami Youssef's TV show, Rami, because I feel the show explores the similarities in religion and culture between observant Muslims and Orthodox Jews, and neither categories are often represented in American media. In general, I do feel there is an abundance of Jewish representation in TV and film. Though Jews do not control the media, Jewish immigrants were a part of the development and foundation of the film and television industry, which allowed the privilege of having some say in the way we were represented in TV and film. Though it was at first mostly Jewish men, there have still been over the years quite a lot of positive representation for Jewish women. I grew up watching The Nanny on Nick at Night.
Okay, so right, like I feel like she does a pretty good job at, like, I don't know her, so this is the only video of hers that I've seen, and we're not here to watch the whole video, but I just wanted to give you like a taste. I'll link her video. I don't know her content. I don't know who she is. I don't know what her general values are, but just that segment there I thought was really important, was to say that we acknowledge, right? It's not to say like we have to fall into some anti-Semitic trope of assuming Jews own Hollywood. That's ridiculous. But to say that obviously you have had a lot of say in the representation of your community. And generally, I grew up with a very positive, thought about Jewish people. And since I'm a Syrian myself, we always said like the Jews and the Muslims were our cousins because we're all from the same place. So it felt very much like, yeah, like all my life, all I heard was like positive media representation of Jewish culture and Jewish people. And then after 9/11, it became very clear to me, like the Islamophobia was like very deeply serious and we needed to confront that as well. And so I'm glad she said all those things. I think that's important. But there's like a tone deafness from the writer that I really just like am frustrated by, because it shows like a little bit of her privilege. And it also shows that she is not and was not born a Jew and raised as a Jew. She converted. So she is the main character in the show, right? That is literally her story. But again, the fact that even when confronted, it's not like she's ignorant and she doesn't know. She, with purpose, made sure to avoid any serious topic while writing a show that takes all this credit for being this like great progressive type of woman. And I understand when Hollywood says progressive, they don't mean us. They mean like liberal progressive, which is, to be fair, I think appropriate, right? It's very capitalistic. The sisters want this $60 million deal. There's like a little bit of discourse between Joanne's character and then her sister's character, where the sister's like, fuck it, we'll take the deal. We don't care what we have to do. We'll change the name of the podcast if we have to. And Joanne's character is like, no, we want the show to be organic and we want our original title and we want to do something important here. Like she is fighting for some, well, it's like she half-assed put her toe in the like feminist liberation pool and then like pulls out when a boy's involved. You know what I mean? Like when the boy isn't there, she's like feminism. And when the boy is there, she's like housewife. I'm like, okay, like it's very just tone deaf, bro. Tone deaf. Okay. Okay. Now I want to show you two more videos that I think like, you know, this is happening over and over again. And again, I have been tone deaf. I have privated content I have made that I felt like was tone deaf because, you know, when we make content, sometimes we're just so in our own bubble. We forget what's happening, but we have to remember that everything is made within the context of the moment. And yes, the moment is different for all of us, but it's important to recognize. So let's switch gears because I feel like I properly tackled that. Let's switch gears into the finance, and then we'll end on Ethan and Hila, which will take a while. So the finance perspective, I have two TikToks that I saw recently where I was just like, this is so tone deaf. This one was, I couldn't find the original, and I think it's because I have Michaela blocked on TikTok. But this haul that Michaela did, I don't know if you guys saw it when it happened.
I blacked out. Not a question.
She goes, oh, I blacked out and I spent like basically $150,000 on luxury items. This is a woman who gets so many things for free. And she posted this recently and people were like, hey, people can't afford groceries. We know you're rich, but why are you flaunting your wealth right now? Right? Like, why did you make this decision? So I couldn't find the original video, but if you know, you know. Okay. So she goes on, he actually goes on to price the bags.
5,900.
Every day on the
3,650.
Oh my God.
3,200.
It's like, girl, what? Chad says, can you say more about the content you privated? Can you ask a different question so I can answer it? I just don't know what you mean by that, right? Like, I private a bunch of content. I've been on the internet a long time. Things get out of date. You know, you say something in 2010 that makes sense for the time, like women should lean in and be capitalists, and then you private that content because that fucking isn't what we're doing anymore, right? Like, I used to make a lot of pro-capitalism content, and now I'm like, fuck capitalism. You know what I mean? So all that shit's gonna be privated, because the point is like, I don't want to use my name and my face to spread beliefs I don't believe anymore. So that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. Like, you post a video, you know, you're thinking about something, you know, you're telling, you know, you got to private that shit, because people are gonna, I don't want people to watch it and be like, I'm so inspired by Brittany, I want to be a capitalist. Oh no, stop. I don't want you to do that. Okay, so speaking of capitalism, this video came across my feed again. Very tone deaf. This person's videos have been, they keep getting recommended to me. And I just like, ugh, okay.
Christmas because they can't afford to see how full the malls are.
Oop.
Poor people think that nobody can afford Christmas because they can't afford to see how full the malls are at Tuesday at a 2 p.m. They think that nobody can afford groceries because they can't afford to be at these restaurants where it's $100 per person and you have to make a reservation a month in advance, and they're always full. Poor people do not live in reality. They live in poverty, and that is it. At least when you're middle class, you understand some people have more money than you, some people have less money than you, and that's a very real thing. But for poor people, wealthy people are a fantasy. They might as well be dragons and unicorns. They only see people with money on TV. They don't actually, in their day-to-day lives, interact with them. So they say to themselves, yes, the fantasy people on the TV or maybe even on social media, obviously they have money, but everybody else in real life, we're all poor. We're all broke. When you believe everybody is poor and there's nothing that you can do to stop being poor, of course you're going to be poor. And notice how it's always a we. Poor people don't actually see themselves as individuals who can make choices. They are victims. Things just happen to them. Something outside, somebody else does something, and then that trickles down to them and their experience. So because of the economy, I can't do anything at all because I am weak. And unless the economy is good, I can never, ever, ever, ever have money. And when you don't see yourself as an individual, you also cannot look at your circumstances and say, yes, most people that I am around are poor and are having this experience and that experience, but I can make a different decision and just not get this result. People with money do not see themselves as part of an oppressed group that are victims and things just happen to them and they don't have any control. It is in fact quite the opposite. I don't care what is happening to you people. I'm gonna make my money and y'all are gonna have to figure it out. And that's why some people have money and some people don't, because some people don't believe everybody else has to have money in order for them to get money.
Okay. So I see chat is reacting appropriately to how ridiculous this video is. This is just his thing, okay? He's got a pretty good following. This is just his thing. Like, even the comment section is like, hey, bro, this feels insensitive. And then other people are like, wow, poor people are just the worst. So this is his channel. He has 175,000 followers, 7 million views. And it's very much just like, I don't know if he's grifting or if he's just pissing people off or if he's just like a capitalist, right?
It's not a purse, it's a satchel, but you can call it a merce, whatever floats your boat. We got stuff to put in bags. It's not a...
For a woman to smell sexy, she has to smell interesting and a little bit edgy. That's what makes people stop in their tracks and remember you forever. For the first time ever, today I finally had a good experience at Loro Piana.
You know what I'm saying? It's very like, get rich, but Habibi, unless you were born to generational wealth, you'll never be rich enough for them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this boy was literally, sorry, this man, he looks like a child. Look, does that not look like a 10-year-old boy? He's a man. He's like 19 at least. Look at, he looks literally like a, look at this, he looks like a baby.
Men who wear suits like this
is that a, look at
are
this.
very
That's what I'm saying. Unless he was born into generational wealth, I don't know if he's 17, is he 17 or is he 19? Is he 15? Now I don't know. Now I'm double guessing myself. Now I feel stupid. Hold on.
The reason so
Is
many
this a
men think
child?
that
Am I
it's just
making fun of
too
a
hot
child?
to ever wear a suit is because
No, I'm not, right? He's an adult, right? I'm not like punching down on a kid. Am I? I'm sorry. Now I'm triggered. Am I making fun of a kid? No, I can't be. It's, oh my God, what's happening? I'm doubting myself. I try not to highlight children, but now I'm like, he can't be a kid, right?
Don't get me wrong,
No,
I
he's an
love being
adult.
treated like a model when I'm out shopping. However, it does mean that I'm about to come home with a bunch of stuff I never would have even tried
Yeah,
on.
okay, he's got to be like 18, 19. So, okay. Yeah, he's got to be an adult. Sorry, I'm like in real time. This is welcome to live streams, girls. Okay. Okay. So he's Gen Z. He's got to be Gen Z. Look.
Jobs that want to hire them. And that's really the issue. Jobs that want to hire them. And that's really the issue, is that there's a sect, a part of Gen Z, who they're making all these demands and they genuinely expect corporate to care. And they don't even realize that corporate doesn't have to care, because for every 50 really loud Gen Zers who are on the internet saying what they're not going to do and what's wrong about corporate, there are 100 Gen Zers who are happy to take these roles.
Okay, so I got it. He's doing the centrist, liberal, slightly conservative, maybe even fully conservative, but I don't know. You know, if you're not going to do it, I will. Okay, I used to think similarly, sort of like as a Republican when I was like a teenager, when I was like 18, 19, that like, if you're not going to do the job, I'll do the job. But then I realized like, hey, I'm working 3 jobs and I'm still not buying a house. So what's up with this? And that's the disconnect. Now, this feels tone deaf to me to be like, poor people can't afford to celebrate Christmas and that's their fault. And it's like, no, dude, it's the economy literally sucks. Now, okay, so when I look up, so let me bring this up for you. So I just put middle class America. Obviously, this isn't perfect, but it says middle class is defined as a household income typically between 2/3 and double the national median. Those specific dollar amounts vary based on household size, location, a year. In 2022, this range approximately 56,600 to 169,800. So I'm on the lower end of things personally. So I am middle class, but I'm on the lower end, right? Hold on, I'm gonna see. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm on the lower end of things. And the reason I use myself as an example a lot of the time is because I am very privileged that I can work at home and stuff like that. And yet I do have a job that like, isn't perfect every time. And so I have to pay attention. So as a content creator, I try not to be tone deaf with the fact that I work from home, but also I want to remind people that like, I make as much as you do. Sometimes I make more, but if you're middle class, I could be making less or more than you. I'm a middle class YouTuber, okay? And it's fine, and I pay my bills, but I'm living paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. You know, I'm not fucking spending $100,000 on a shopping haul. Hell, I'm not even buying new clothes right now because I can't afford to in my budget. Even if it's fast fashion, which I'm trying not to do, which is actually really hard, honestly. So there's like a tone deafness happening, but there's also like a lack of understanding that this guy has or is deliberately not paying attention to. And I understand, like, if I was being really good faith with his argumentation, I could say I agree that a lot of us aren't good with money. And I know this for myself, that had I ever learned to really budget as a younger person, I probably could have been far better off than I am now. But also, I would have to make so much more money than I am making now to even afford the basic living standard that my parents got to experience. And so millennials are settling for like a lower standard of living than their parents, but we're still making do. But, you know, even a Christmas tree, as an example, my partner and I have yet to buy a Christmas tree for our house. It's not in the budget. It's just like, we could spend $90 on a faux Christmas tree, which I've never had. I've always gotten real ones. But let's say we did that. Let's say we spent €90, 90 euro on a faux Christmas tree, because that's how much they are. We looked. How does this benefit our budget? And we're adults, like, you know what I mean? Like, we can wait to decorate the home when we reach certain financial points, but we can't afford it. But that doesn't mean that, I don't know how to say this. It doesn't mean that we're in poverty either. So I'm not I don't live in poverty. I just still have to live within a very secure budget, though. Like, I am not living in poverty. I am making a very decent income in a world that, you know, but I am still middle class, but I still can't afford these things. So, you know what I mean? Ches says, how did you learn to budget? One day at a time, girl. To be honest, I'm still learning. Yeah, I think I learn every day. My partner and I, learn every day. We figure it out every day. You know, we sit down together and decide like, what do we want? How do we want the future to look? What are we putting where? How do we feel about this? And we're doing pretty good. Like I'm really happy with how we're doing things. But I think that's the thing about budgeting is like, because we're not living in our parents' economy, we have to adapt to whatever the present economy is. And I know that when I was, you know, when I had unaliving thoughts and I was miserable and money just, you know, living and saving and budgeting just did not matter. And now that I want to live, I'm thinking about budgeting and everything is very particularly done. So we sit down together as a family. Like every day we look at our budgeting book. And then once in a while, a couple times a month, we sit down to really talk about money. And that seems to be very helpful for us. But we're always like, you know, what did we spend here? What did we do here? Because we are on a team and we're heading towards a goal. So also having a goal is really important. When I was, you know, suicidal, I didn't have a goal. And because I didn't have a goal, it was really hard to think about caring about saving, you know? Let's see. Let's see. Chet says, call me out if this is wrong. This is Discord. To think, but interesting because I felt like he was talking about a specific type of person in poverty, but for some reason decided to be classist and make it all about poor people. Sure. So like in complete good faith, there are those people in the world that regardless of how much help or budgeting classes they get, they won't be able and won't choose to actually engage in budgeting. But I think that's mental health more than anything else, because I don't think like really stable, healthy people make those decisions. I think the world is so wounded and traumatized that we end up making those decisions, right? So obviously we all have somebody in our family that won't get their shit together. We all know somebody in the friend group that just like won't get their shit together. I think that he doesn't seem very kind or compassionate because he specifically was talking about like celebrating Christmas. Even people in poverty are celebrating Christmas. When people are saying, hey, we can't celebrate Christmas this year, they're saying we can't afford to take time off, be with our kids, buy people presents. Like I even say like in this year of our 2025, you can't be asking people to your weddings. You know, you can't ask people to come to your wedding and spend $2,000. Nobody has that money. You know what I mean? So I think he's being quite cruel to mention Christmas, especially. Like people already feel horrible enough having to work on the holiday. And I know when I was single and I wasn't paying attention to like my family as much, when they would ask us, do we want to work a holiday shift? I would almost always take those shifts because I wanted to make time and a half. But that was because I was single and I didn't have kids or a family, or my parents understood because I was like young and trying to make money. But the fact is, parents this year, because they have to, will work Christmas. And all of those Christmases I had with my parents growing up, every single Christmas I spent with my parents. Every single, there's never been a Christmas in which as a child, I didn't see my parents. Think about that privilege. Like think about the fact that I got to spend, there's videotapes and pictures. Like my parents never had to choose not to spend Christmas with their kids. Now imagine all the parents who have to literally tell their kids, I'm so sorry, like I have to work. I can't pass up this paycheck. It just feels very cruel of him to bring that up, right? Okay, another tone deaf creator we love is Ethan Klein. Okay, Ethan and Gila just like cannot figure it out. So I was watching Do Not Worry yesterday. I was watching Anthony cover this. I'm going to talk about a part of the section with you, but before I do, I found this edit on TikTok and I just want to show it to you.
Me, I'll ruin my you know me, I'll ruin my fucking life in the pursuit of getting these people. From a professional perspective, our entire lives are ruined. I didn't even do anything, right? I will never be done with you. The amount of friends and associates that we've lost, you know, it's unreal. Hassan's the type of dude who watches himself in the mirror when he has sex. There's almost nobody left, frankly. I can't wait for videos crying, Ethan's suing me, Ethan's stalking me, Ethan's all this. Yeah, I'm doing all that. I'm a real person. You're affecting my real life. You're lying about me, saying horrible, malicious things. Trisha lied about being infertile. She did CPS, remember that? So he's a rape. So of course, the girl who put on a fucking racial tier list. psychotics, terrorist supporter who laughs at the coffins of dead children, Hassan, didn't even do anything. I'll see you soon.
Okay. So if you know, you know, right? Some of the clips, people in the comments are like, when was this taken? When did he say this? But if you know, you know. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm gonna use Do Not Worry podcast to have this conversation because I think I want Anthony's commentary in this, because often what happens is Ethan is doing this thing where any criticism heading his way is anti-Semitism. And that's frustrating. You know, and I understand conservatives will say this. Conservatives will say, well, when can I criticize a woman or a lesbian or a trans person without it being transphobia, when you don't use transphobia to do it? So example, that trans story we covered about the woman in the bathroom and the black lesbian going after her. A lot of people have been in my comments and I'm blocking every single one who's like, oh, this trans woman has a record. First of all, that record is separate from the reality that that woman was harassed and recorded in a bathroom by a woman who said she wanted to, quote, protect women. And yes, though domestic violence is absolutely abhorrent and whatever happened, I haven't looked into it, but it doesn't matter for the sake of the conversation we were having initially, which is the focus. Don't let them distract you and say things like, well, she was allowed to harass this person because we found out later they were bad. No, that's not how that works. We don't get to harass people before, that's not how that works. Okay. And what's worse is this black lesbian was recently up on stage. Hold on, let me bring it up for you. Was recently up on stage with a politician going, I'm a black lesbian, I'm not transphobic, and then literally says the most transphobic shit ever. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we want to hear from you. We want to hear women's voices. We want to hear gay voices, but you have to do it without being transphobic. And I think a lot of people have been very critical of Ethan without being anti-Jewish, and he can't hear it, the difference. But let me show you why I think Ethan is similar to this lesbian.
I've read a lot of your bills, and like you said, there are bills that need to be.
So this is Senator Scott Wiener. I don't know who this is. Wiener. I don't know who this is, but she's confronting him.
Opened up, and I'm telling you now, millions of women across America are being harassed and sexually assaulted in locker rooms. I'm a lesbian black woman. I'm not transphobic. I'm not homophobic. And I do respect a lot of the things you've done. But I do see a lot of these bills that you've passed that are dangerous for women and young children. And I understand that you're trying to be on a level playing field. And I'm here to represent my community because I hear a lot of things about my community in these bills. And I'm telling you as a woman, first and foremost, that this is dangerous and we need your help because you're in the office, you're going to go into Polinsky's spot. I want to support you. I have millions of people behind me watching this right now, and we want to know, are you going to protect women? Not trans women, trans women are different things. Women, listen, we need to protect women's safety. I was assaulted. No, they are not. They are men. I was assaulted by one. He broke his wife's jaw so bad she needed reconstructive surgery. I'm a lesbian. I'm not transphobic and I'm black. So if there's another black woman in here who wants to tell me how they feel, please join in. But all of you are not. And I don't know who you are or what you are, but I'm a lesbian and I'm telling you right now, men are harassing women in the locker room. I've read a lot of...
So then she pulls out like, I'm a lesbian and I'm black. So now what? And of course, everyone's like, fuck, you got us. And I'm like, what? Like, everyone, you know what I mean? But I like how she's like, I'm not transphobic. He's a man. Anyway, sorry, it's not funny. This is what Ethan sounds like to me. Where I'm like, can you just say this without being transphobic? She can't. She can't say it without being transphobic, and she weaponizes the black card, which is very funny to me because, like, girl, people really get intimidated. But that's the thing is, like, why are you not being more empathetic considering that black people have been discriminated against? Why aren't you being more empathetic since black women can be targeted by transphobia? Why aren't you being more empathetic? And so I get it. Like, she wants to protect women. Okay, we know lesbians really suffer. Lesbians are out here suffering every day, okay? Especially from transphobia. But listen, okay? Ethan then gets up here. So Gila put out, and Anthony's going to explain it in a second, but put out a makeup product. And the models who worked for Gila regret doing so because they learned afterwards that they're not supporting Palestine in like a full chest way. Okay? So that's the context. So Anthony from Do Not Worry, okay, is reacting to this thing. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I need you to watch a large segment with me just to talk about it, because Anthony brings up a lot of really interesting points that even as I was listening, I was like, man, Ethan can't get it. He cannot get it. Like, no matter how much we explain it to him, he cannot see it. And that's the tone deafness that I think is so interesting, what people aren't getting. Guys, like, we are living in a world where, like, we want kindness and love and people to be fed. And we have to realize that not everybody wants that. We are not living in a world where people universally want to feed people, where people universally want to hold predators accountable. We are not living in a world where people universally believe people should be educated or housed. We're living in a world where people are debating whether or not somebody should be fed. That is our reality. So we have to be very clear where we stand on things. And I believe we should be feeding people and housing people and caring about people. And I don't want to hear any conversation that justifies transphobia in any capacity. I don't want to hear any conversation that justifies racism. I don't want to hear any conversation that justifies the genocide of any population. I don't want to hear any conversation that's anti-Semitic. I don't want to hear any justification for bigotry. None of it. Zero bigotry tolerance, period. Okay? If you want to work on your bigotry, you can talk to your therapist. But if you're going to show up here as a content creator, a person worth over $20 million, and talk about how nobody will work with us, none of our friends are still around, everyone keeps betraying us, and you don't even for 1 second think that you might be the reason, me criticizing you is not anti-Semitism, Habibi. It's just me pointing out the obvious. You are the common denominator. Something is wrong with the way you're conducting yourself. And the fact that Ethan can't see it, the fact that Hila can't see it is so amazing. It's amazing. Okay, so let's watch it together. And what can we learn about our own life, right?
Talk about the matter at hand, the Teddy Glow update. Hila, how are you feeling?
I feel much better now.
So again, what happened with Teddy Glow is that they just launched their new makeup brand, and as soon as they launched, some of the models that participated in the campaign, promotional campaign, the makeup artists that participated, like, came out against Hila on Instagram, disavowed their work on Teddy Glow because they found out that Hila is a Zionist and that she was in the IDF, etc., etc. So they're like, hey, we don't want to associate with this. So they ended up postponing their episode one day. And then, actually, I mean, let's quickly look at some of these Instagram stories. These might come up later, but these are some of the Instagram stories that Ethan shared relating to the matter. So, like, why the fuck? So this is the post that one of the models put out. It says, it was brought to my attention that the brand owner of the makeup brand I modeled for is in support of Israel. I'm disgusted to say the least. When I was presented this job, I had no knowledge of this and would have said no. Otherwise, I've always been vocal about my support for Palestine and all oppressed and marginalized groups under an oppressive system. I know where my heart and core values lie. All photos have been deleted off my page as I do not align myself with that brand. One mistake doesn't determine my entire identity nor heart, but moving forward, I will be more diligent about the brands and people I work with. God bless, XX. Ethan shares this post and says, why?
Hold on. Chad said, I understand what you're saying, but I think some of the criticism he had was that the models are willing to work with Trisha, who has been pro-Israel before, but not Ethan, because Trisha took all those videos down and her and Moses made it clear that they're not supporting Israel. Right? Like, I don't follow Trisha and Moses like that anymore, but I don't know what that has to do with anything. But specifically, Trisha has taken all of that stuff down and made it clear, like, right? So I feel like Ethan hasn't done that. Right? Like, Hila hasn't made it clear. If Hila would just come out and be an amazing former IOF soldier who talks about, like, the regret, you know, like we've seen from some of these US soldiers from Iraq, it would be different. Right? But I feel like bringing up Trisha doesn't make any sense. And it feels like Ethan doesn't understand that, or like people don't understand that. Like, Trisha is problematic, definitely, but they also have literally taken it down. Maybe she doesn't regret it. Maybe she's not pro-Palestinian, but it doesn't matter because Trisha isn't suing creators who are pro-Palestine. Ethan is. It's like, what does Trisha have to do with anything? Ethan will do anything except take accountability. You know what I'm saying? Right? It doesn't matter. Like, why are you bringing up a person? Why are you bringing up Trisha? What does Trisha have to do with this story? In actuality, what do they have to do with this story? This is Ethan not getting it.
Why the fuck does Hila have to deal with this shit for being born somewhere? Give me a fucking break. This is just overt racism. I'm so fucking tired of this. Again, this has nothing to do with racism. No one cares that Hila was born in Israel. You're right. It is out of her hands. But Hila being born in Israel has nothing to do with the things that Hila has said on the podcast, some of the things that she said in the past, and things that she has not properly disavowed. We forgive Hila for being born in Israel. I forgive her. It wasn't her fault, like you said, but there's a lot of things that she said that she can actually correct. She can't go back in time and decide where she was born, but she can apologize for things that she said. She can clearly clarify on things that she has said. She can make it clear to the world that she's not a Zionist. That is
exactly. We just want to make sure. Hey, in this world, we're not sure. We're not sure who's safe. We just want to make sure. And people, listen, you might feel burnt out from being like, I can't believe I have to prove myself. How do you think everyone else feels about not sure if you're safe? We're all burnt out. Habibis, we don't know who's safe. So we're just asking. That's why I've taken down content that I think was like, maybe like, again, like if when I put something out in the public where all kinds of people can see it, it's my job as a creator to reaffirm my belief and my stance so people can get a clear standing. But if I'm speaking in a way that makes the people I agree with misunderstand me, then I'm doing something wrong. Then I'm not doing it correctly. So I will do it until I feel like I've been seen and heard. Ethan feels neither seen nor heard, but neither do the people who he keeps going after. He is still currently suing Denims, Frogan, and hold on, give me a second. Fuck, what's her name? Fuck, I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry. Casey Tron. That one, thank you. So he is currently still suing them. It hasn't gone away, y'all. It's still happening. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, is Trisha out here suing people, or are people out here suing people? Like, Ethan is still suing these people.
The issue. But again, as always, that's not the point that Ethan is going to make. Has to make it about racism. He then shares, so this is, I think the makeup artist here says, although I'm proud of the looks I contributed to this campaign, it's unfortunate to hear about the brand owner and her support of Israel. If I'd known, it would have been a hard I would have been a hard pass. A friend brought me on as an assistant for a new makeup brand, and that was that. Disappointed to say the least. What a waste of makeup. And that Ethan then says that's 3 out of the 4 participants in the shoot. Then he says, send nice messages to Ela. She is taking this all very hard. 2 years of work to be met with this. She wants to quit, and I don't blame her. I would too if I was sane.
I would too if I was sane. Listen. Okay, let's pull out. Let's zoom out. Nothing is more painful than being a person in a body that is politicized. Nothing is more painful than not having a choice on how you're perceived because your body is the first thing people see. Nothing is worse than not picking where you live, and because of where you are, or where you were born, and because of where you were born, the world has decided who you are. That feels really, really horrible. Which is why we have to work to make it clear to everybody where we stand when issues arise to the level that they've arisen, and to make sure that we are reaffirming in everybody that you're loved and you deserve a safe space and you deserve to work hard and reap the benefits of that hard work. And that the way we show up in the world matters, especially as public figures, and all of those things, right? Okay. Ela and Ethan's inability to be compassionate over the years has created a rift between their former community and themselves, former fans and themselves, former friends and themselves, because the people in their life felt how they feel now. Hey, you're being like kind of cruel. You're being like really inappropriate. Like, hey, like something really bad just happened and you're not really like meeting me where I am. And I'm going to have to go a different way. And Ethan says, even current day, right? This video just came out. Everyone's abandoned us. No one's around. People keep not wanting to work with us. It could just be discrimination, or it could be a choice of a realization that you are not safe to work with. And that's the hard part about life. Am I being discriminated against, or am I unsafe? And, you know, at some point in our life, we're probably going to be both. It is our job as community members to make spaces safe for people. And it's our job as adults in the community to recognize in which ways we do not make spaces safe. Can you make a safe space for your gay child if you say, come home, I'll feed you, but also all this gay propaganda in movies, am I right? Are you really making a safe space for people in your life? Is it when they come over, you go right for like, oh, why are you wearing that today? Oh my gosh, did you gain weight? Oh my gosh, what's this? Like, are you really making a safe space? You know what I mean? So this is really difficult because you kind of have to be very intentional, and you have to say, like, am I really making a safe space? Again, so many people held out for Ethan. I held out for Ethan. So many people, Hassan held out for Ethan. So many people held out for Ethan only to then be disappointed at the reality that he wasn't going to do the introspection, the work, right? So again, Hila isn't being attacked because she was born in Israel. There are so many Israeli people that are in prison right now because they won't serve in the IOF. There are so many Israeli people right now who are protesting right now and facing jail time. And at the same time that's happening, Ethan, in his position of power, gets on stream last year and talks about taking his family to Israel to show them to show the world how beautiful it was. It's like, how much more tone deaf can you be? Your tone deafness and your inability to face that and deconstruct it will turn people against you. And Anthony says as much. Listen to the way Anthony is so like, he's so charitable in a way that it's almost like annoying, where he's just like, and I get it because I used to be that person where Anthony's like, Ethan, I'll help you, stop doing this. And he's like giving Ethan like really good advice, but like, it's not going to matter. Ethan's not going to remember it. You know, Ethan's not going to listen. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, he's not going to listen. But the thing is like, that's what it is. Like, that's when you know what we all were with Ethan? We were ex-girlfriends that were like, he will change. We'll just tell him stuff and he'll change. And he doesn't. And he didn't. And Ethan's the ex-boyfriend that's like, why won't anyone date me? Well, you know, okay, let's go back to Anthony.
And then, this is also the makeup artist shared this and said, and to those shredding my character as if who I am and everything I've accomplished has all boiled down to this moment, and suddenly I lack morals and integrity. We're all in a whole ass recession. When I get booked, I take it unless I know the tea because I need it to survive. But for real, I don't keep tabs on every single person I come into contact with. That sounds exhausting. Those who know me know the real me, and that's all that will ever matter. I think there were a couple of other people.
So this is the model. This is the model talking.
People that posted some stories. Ethan then says they are threatening to ruin her life, of course. Iron Maiden, M6R, just became a member. W's in the chat for Iron Maiden. Welcome, welcome. We love you. Welcome to everybody who's joining in today. So this is just a quick look at what was taking place. Just a little bit of context. Okay, so now we're going to get into Hila is going to tell her own story. Let's watch, let's react, and I'll offer commentary as we go along. Buckle up, grab some snacks, and enjoy.
You had a day and people reaching out, and
Yes.
there's lots of support, which was really nice.
Yes. So much. I don't know where to begin. Where should we
Well, let's
begin?
see. So, we made a
Iron Maiden says, thanks, Dog. No, thank you, Iron Maiden. And Ryan Abbas, Ryan, a Lebanese person?
I'm going to skip
we've got
the
14
super
Love you
chats.
guys so much. Ryan, ahla sahla feek.
post on Teddy Glow. In fact, let's start by showing the post that started it all, I guess, you know. Let's see.
It was
First, before we start talking about this, let me just emphasize that people, please do not message or interact with any of these people we're talking about.
I think it's interesting that he's telling everyone not to interact with these models when he himself in the past always interacted with people. Like, did you notice how the small content creators on any platform, Ethan will go for them? And I, by the way, totally skipped over it. But this girl made a video. I actually had it on my to watch list later. This content creator, I don't know her that well, but I've seen a couple of her videos. She made a video about Ethan, and then she wanted her show to talk about it. And Ethan was just like butthurt the whole time. Like, Ethan literally goes after small content creators all of the time. And so it's kind of interesting that he doesn't practice what he preaches. It's just interesting.
yes.
There's some people that we feel acted inappropriately and cruelly against us.
Yes.
Yeah, cruel world, happy mind. That one. Thank you.
I believe that is the makeup that's on her. Again, I don't know anything about makeup, so you're not going to get my commentary on. If we ever have Noor, Karina on, anyone that knows about makeup, we'll maybe have them offer their opinions on Teddy Glow. I know nothing about makeup. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm not going to comment on the look of the makeup.
But they're at the same time also just, you know, private. Well, they're models, but like they're not internet people in the same way we are. So, and anyway, just that doesn't help anything. Your support has been extraordinarily appreciated. But anyway, I just want to say for the record, please do not go to any of these people and message them or
I
comment
want
on
to
their
add
stuff.
to that too. Don't
Meg Frost, hello, sends $5. Thank you. No, I know. Like Lucy, but oh man, if you're in the
Skipping
chat, I
the
was
super
Comrade
chats?
Rivas, and Comrade Casey, you give me your thoughts as well.
don't try to speculate. Like, if you're not sure who did what or who said what, don't try to speculate and message the ones that to find out or anything like. Because I've heard from like one model, for example, who didn't pick a side. If anything, she was supporting me in all of this. That she's also getting now messages, you know, because
Yeah, so
people
I'll make that clear.
wrongfully.
People in the chat seem to like the idea. North Star Radio seems to like the idea. Ryan just upgraded. Just a heads up, if you want to downgrade.
Messaging them just doesn't help anybody.
So anyway, this is the post, right?
Yeah, it was like our two amazing looks.
Okay, honestly, love the looks. Very young, very interesting. Surprised she's going into makeup, but not surprised she's going into makeup.
You know what's funny? There's like a snark,
I'll be honest. This looks interesting. It looks different. Like normally, I know, like I'm used to like matte, very more classic makeup looks. You know what I mean? Like the matte colors. I've not really seen like shiny, platinum-y makeup like this. Like to me, this is new. Okay.
I mean, the models look beautiful.
So if people think this looks bad, then I hear it. The color is like it's giving Teddy Fresh. Like I'll give them one thing. It's consistent.
I'm gonna skip his
like,
commentary on the makeup because it doesn't matter.
To them like crazy,
including myself. Now it's being recommended.
I want his commentary about Ethan, but not about the makeup.
To me on my
dude. Reddit needs to be held accountable. What they're doing on that website and pushing people into these snark subreddits is extraordinarily fucked up.
Yeah.
Again, I love how.
Wait, Chad, you said I thought so that too. Gila doesn't really wear makeup. Gila doesn't really wear makeup. What do you mean? Gila wears the most exaggerated makeup looks. That's kind of what she's known for. I feel like when I used to love Gila and I would love her fashion, and I did, one of the things I always thought was unique about Gila was how much she emphasizes her makeup, her aesthetic, her colors. I don't know. That's so interesting. Maybe it was different eras of her aesthetic. But I always felt like her makeup was very exaggerated. But that's because, I mean, look at my makeup. I mean, I would argue that I make the least exaggerated makeup look ever. You know what I mean? Do you guys even know I'm wearing makeup? Right? Like, it just like in comparison to like makeup that's supposed to look more like enhancing your natural versus makeup that's meant to stand out, you know?
Ethan keeps blaming Reddit as if people aren't talking shit about him on Twitter, as if people aren't talking shit about him on TikTok. Like, okay, let's say you successfully sue like the Snark subreddit. Are you gonna then sue Twitter? Are you then gonna sue TikTok? Like, what's the plan? You can't litigate your way out of criticism. That's not how it works.
That's what he wants to do, though. This is what I mean. Ethan wants to sue people into not being mean to him. It just feels like the least thoughtful, considerate, compassionate thing to do, right?
It's just not how it works. This is why if Ethan just starts by dropping the lawsuits, like, again, fucking take it from a fallen fan who is still out here giving you advice. For some reason, for one reason or another, I'm still out here giving you advice. Start by dropping the lawsuits. For one, you're just making it worse. The more you participate in this, the more you make it a tit for tat. You say this, I'm going to sue you. This person said this, I'm going to sue them. You're doing this, I'm going to expose you. I'm going to dox you. This tit for tat, my man, your wife can't launch a makeup brand anymore. And they're realizing this now in real time. They're like, what have we done? Obviously, dude, if you just watched my streams all year, I gave you the path to redemption. You just don't want to take it. You don't want to take it. Listen, just fucking listen. Listen to Melhouse, man. What else can I say?
That's the thing is like, I can't believe this is happening time and time again. And they're not sitting down and thinking like, guys, I would melt under the pressure of this stress. Like, I couldn't handle the amount of stress that they are going through. I would do everything in my power to fix whatever put me in this situation. Even if that was myself, which you know, by the way, you understand, right? A part of me, the reason I think it's just mental health / greed is because I know when I get into battles with YouTubers, I can either decide to engage or not engage. And I try very hard. I make a very concerted effort to not make myself a character, right? Like, I don't know. I know you guys, I mean, I'm very transparent with this. I am very careful of even when I talk about Ethan and Hila, because I don't want to be a main character on the show. I do not want to see my fucking face on their fucking thumbnails. Okay? I will literally gag if I wake up and see my fucking face on a thumbnail. I do not want this. And I know Anthony's had this happen. Okay, I do not want to be this. So I'm very careful about when I talk about YouTubers because I don't want to, I'm not trying to start beef. I just, no offense, you're a public figure worth millions of dollars, I'll talk about you. Or like you're a public figure in general, I'm going to talk about you. Okay? But I don't want to be a main character in your life. Girl, trust me, I have plenty of unopened DMs from people. I know y'all are watching. I'm just not answering, you know? And I don't want to answer it. And that's the point. You know, I don't want to be a main character, but I'm still going to talk about it because that's how the ecosystem works. You talk about YouTubers, they notice you, you start beef, you make money. That's what they think we're all doing. But some of us are just, hey, this is interesting. We want to talk about it. But please know that Anthony would have lost me as a subscriber if he won an H3 just for the heck of it. He knows this. Anthony knows that people were mad at him when he first suggested it because Ethan asked him on. And I was like, if you go on this show, in my head, I was like, I'll unsubscribe from Anthony. But then he gave Ethan an ultimatum that I thought was like pretty decent. He said, if you drop the lawsuits, I'll come on. And I said, okay, if he can get Ethan to drop the lawsuit, sure. But Ethan didn't drop the lawsuit, so Anthony never went on, which is respectable. But had Anthony just gone on this live stream, I would have unsubscribed from Anthony. Because if you were just going on Ethan's, that's why that girl, why did she go? I don't know. I don't know her, but I felt like she was kind of tricked into going into Ethan's show. The world girl, what's her name again? The Happy Cruel World, whatever. I feel like she was tricked on going into that show. I feel like because the clips I've seen of it, she looks really confused about why she's there. I feel like she might have been, like she might have gone with so much good faith. Because Ethan just like railroaded, like I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just saw clips, but Ethan just like boo, 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 boo. And she was like, okay. Like she didn't know what to do. And it feels like she made this video, which I have not seen, about Ethan and Hassan and and then he was like, hey, you made this video about me. And she in good faith was like, hey, well, let's talk about it. And then he was like, this is anti-Semitic. You know what I mean? I feel like she was genuinely tricked, especially since she came out to do a fundraiser for Palestine because she was so embarrassed that people thought she was trying to hide the genocide, that she raised money for Palestine. So, okay. You know what I'm saying? So I feel bad. I feel bad for her. I haven't heard anything bad about her. So I feel like she was tricked. And that's why I think so badly of Ethan at this point where I'm like, you are 40 something years old, bro. You're 40. Are you going to be just old or are you going to be the elder? By the way, he's never going to be an elder. Let's be real.
Again, you know, I called this. I literally called all of this throughout the year. I said Teddy Fresh is going to be affected. I said no more collabs. I said, and they're going to say all of it. Everything I said, they're going to repeat.
Oh, you're right. Anthony talked about this, that she talked to Chris Kunzler. And even Anthony had to apologize to her because I think he said something mean about her. And then he apologized to her and sent a super chat. He talks about it in this stream. I wasn't sure what he was talking about. But yeah, I heard she went and talked to Chris, which makes a lot of sense. So I feel like she was definitely tricked, right?
But obviously the snark people were being super mean to Hila about everything. And I don't take it seriously because they're snarkers, but there was one comment I thought was actually a sneak compliment. They said, and by the way, there's no way that they actually used the palette to do these looks.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I was like, they did.
They did.
So,
and I just want to say, look, as a small-time content creator, I'll be real. I, on occasion, will check in on Reddit, but you really can't be reading comments like this. You can't be reading comments. I cannot believe like these people don't understand. Like I know Ethan says he's got away from like really reading the stuff and everything, but even highlighting it on your show is the point. Stop highlighting it on the show. Like guys, if I went and I kept after, the debate bro bubble and I burned the bridges, if I kept going and highlighting all their fans' comments about me, I would have just kept it going. But you see how I ignored it and it went away? See how the boys got bored? Because they literally do not care. But that's also because like I didn't give them anything to make fuel with. Ethan keeps giving us fuel. Ethan is the reason this shit is going. He's literally giving us content to be like, I'm going to react to that. Look at me right now. I didn't force Ethan into this position. He got up, a grown up, came to work and went, I'm going to make a video that's going to make people respond to me. I would have nothing to talk about if Ethan didn't say the things he was saying.
That is a massive compliment.
I was like, hell yeah.
And by the way, that's what harassment looks like. Harassment looks like people making content that you decide to make something out of versus people making content that's obvious people are going to make something out of this. Do you know what I'm saying? If Ethan might be harassed by a population of the people coming at him, 100%. That's valid. That always happens. But the other part of it, which is the real criticism, the constructive criticism, hey, this is a moral dilemma. We're having a difference of ethics, right? That's like a difference of values, right? Ethan doesn't, this is so bad because I don't mean it to say it this way, but the reason conservatives are so good with the internet is because they take opportunities like this and go right to the bank, baby. Okay? Other conservatives, Tucker Carlson, all these people, they go, let's get all these haters. Let's make all this money. I think Ethan partially understands he's making more money or some money, but I think he's also actually hurt by it. And because he's actually hurt by it, part of me is like, Habibi, do the work. If you're going to be this hurt by it, do the work. Do the actual work. But see how he's not doing the work? And then it's like, man, you can't, it might as well be like Tucker Carlson that's like a, psychopath. And he's just like, fuck it. I love it. People talking shit about me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not even being Charlie Kirk about it, but you know what I mean? It just feels like you are so privileged. You don't even have to do this job. You could take a year off and still afford to pay your employees. You could pay every single one of your employees a year-long vacation and still have money left over. And he's not taking it. Isn't that funny how when you're poor or like lower middle class, you like dream of being this rich so you can take off work, and then you become this rich and you never take off? It's kind of funny.
North Star says TikTok might hit Ethan more than Reddit. I actually got on TikTok for the first time in a long time last week for the Lebanese episode. I was trying to get some Lebanese TikToks. I was shocked at the amount of like anti-Ethan TikToks and the amount of likes and engagement.
My TikTok algorithm hates Ethan. I was shocked when they started showing up on my feed because I was like, what is this? Yeah, the TikTok does not like Ethan. Young people, old people, like people do not like Ethan over on TikTok.
Way worse on TikTok than it is on Reddit. So it's not even a question of Reddit or like the Snark subreddit or like, dude, again, and if you just ignore it, if you just don't look at the Snark subreddit, or if you feel like no one's engaging with your brand anymore, you have to just fucking come clean and like actually talk about the situation at hand. Come face to face with your own Zionism. And if you don't admit to it and apologize for it, at least be like, you know what, I was kind of mistaken about what Zionism is. Just fucking say that. Hila, apologize for your service. Apologize, sincerely apologize for the raid in Ramallah. This will work. I'm telling you, it'll help. You don't want.
It will work, but they have to do it organically, and they can't do it because they don't regret it. She's not actually ashamed of being an IOF soldier. She's not actually ashamed of going on that raid. She doesn't actually regret it. That's the problem. People know it. They can sense it on you, bro. You know when your homie does something fucky and then tries to apologize, and you can tell, like, bro, you do not mean this. Because in good faith, I think Anthony and I, as examples, would really understand if they were being good faith. I think Hassan could have seen something good faith, but they're not being good faith. It's not real. It's a hey, I'm sorry you feel that way apology. But I really believe if Ethan and Hila came out and said, guys, I cannot believe how fucking stupid I have been. I cannot believe I didn't see it until now. I am so fucking embarrassed. I am so fucking mortified at how ignorant I have been through this process. And you have been trying to tell me, you have been trying to hold me accountable, and I have done everything in my power to not listen to you, and that's on me. I am 100% at fault and responsible for the way that I have reacted over the last few years. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take the next 6 months off to reflect on this. And in the meantime, here's a big donation to Palestine. Here's smaller creators who are Palestinian you can follow. Here are good people who are supporting Palestinians you can engage with. I'm so sorry for the way that I've acted. You were right and I was wrong. No clarifiers. Okay? Disappear. 6 months, do the work, read what you got to read, come back. People will forget it. They'll be like, wow, amazing. A real change on the internet. Whoa. Somebody really changed. Here's the problem. Changing is really, really hard. Changing is really, really, really hard. And if I had to make a bet, it's not going to happen. Because it's really hard to change. It's really hard.
Want to do it? Don't do it. Keep crying about your failed makeup brand launch. Don't apologize for the raid. Don't sincerely talk about this stuff. Don't try to reckon with your past. Don't keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing the same thing, I guess.
Idiots. Yeah, idiots, right? So here's the post.
So it started with this post, and then I don't know how much to go into the things, but like it's been a while now that I kind of work with people and we don't tag people because of the harassment that everybody that works with me ends up getting.
Yeah, it's been like that for a long time.
They can't even tag people.
Because people have to understand that you're a company, right? Why is Sydney Sweeney getting all of this backlash? Because ultimately she rubbed too many people the wrong way and her reactions have been absolutely horrible. And you know what's interesting is everyone that's supporting Sydney Sweeney is also getting a sideways look. Guys, welcome to how the world has always worked. We see who you support, we see how you act, and then we decide we're not going to support you because of the way you're acting. Look at this video I saw. I was fucking laughing. Okay, hold on. Let me pull these up because it's actually pretty funny. Wait, I thought I saved this video for you. Did I lose it somehow in the mix of things? Hold on, let me bring it up. Wow. The way I misspell words as I'm Googling, it's actually kind of ridiculous. Hold on. I just wrote Whitney Cumming. That's not what I meant to look for. Okay. Am I confused here? I suppose Sydney Sweeney. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. First I saw this video.
MAGA? I'm sorry, but is Whitney Cummings MAGA? I don't know. I don't really know her that well. Is she MAGA? I'm just asking. I don't know if she is. I just saw her make a TikTok about Sydney Sweeney and she doesn't understand why she's getting anger. And like, I don't know. I've always seen clips of her and I thought she was really, really smart. And I'm not saying she's not smart. I'm just confused. I don't know. Go look at the TikTok.
I love the whole, like, is she MAGA? Because, like, you know, there's this whole thing that's happening with Selling Sunset as well, where like a majority of the girls on Selling Sunset are absolutely MAGA. Or OC is also MAGA. Orange County's conservative, guys. So then I saw this clip. Okay, well, no, first let's go to Whitney. So this is Whitney's clip.
Sydney Sweeney does not care. You guys gotta stop.
Hey, girl. Remember me?
Oh, wait. Oh. That's not, well, that wasn't the whole video. Wait, I don't want to stitch. I want the real video. Ah, shoot. I saw it earlier. I saw the whole video. That's why I thought I had it saved somewhere. Basically, she's like, Sydney Sweeney does not care. Sydney Sweeney is going to do what she wants. She's like living her best life. And then this video of Sydney comes out, okay?
The White House. You talked about also how you were shocked that your American Eagle ad reached the White House and how it created so much conversation about who you are and what you stand for. How do you process when there's so much perception being projected onto you?
You just know who you are. And the people who matter and are your friends and your family, they know who I am. And that's all, to me, like, that's what's most important. Everything else is just noise. It's all just headlines.
Yeah. And for you, what was it that made you persevere and you look back now and gave you the strength?
God is good. I'm just me. It's all noise. It's none of it's real. And I'm just surrounded by really good people, and I love my job and I love my characters, and I just stay focused.
The whole like God is good thing and the whole like, what is this aesthetic? Now, Whitney, I stopped watching years ago because she obviously has to deal with her internalized misogyny. She needs to work on some stuff, but I'm not surprised that she doesn't understand the Sydney Sweeney stuff. And again, tone deafness, right? There's a tone deafness to all of this that I think is so interesting. That again, these celebrities with all their access aren't using it to educate themselves. Like, there really is an irony to the fact that the more rich and famous you are, the less curious you can be. Because if you are curious, everything ends up being a threat to your comfortability, which I have this whole video I want to watch with you guys today. We might get to it, we might not. About a woman saying this herself, where she, a Black woman, was saying that she, went to uni, did her education, was thinking about like advocating for minorities and standing up for people. And then there's a feeling you get where you start to be comfortable, and that comfortability is threatened by standing up for the marginalized. And that's a really hard place to be in, where, like, am I willing to be uncomfortable to do the right thing? And this is why I say being a good person is really hard. Guys, I've been mentally preparing for like, where can I buy vegan or environmentally sustainable clothing? And I've been like, where can I get it? Because even the brands that say they are those things, they don't have good ratings on a lot of these websites that are like, no, dude, that's still fast fashion, or no, dude, it's still this XYZ. It is so hard. It is literally so hard to find ways. So again, it's not about being perfect in your purchasing. It's about harm reducing the purchasing. So, secondhand, or if you're going to buy new, buy local. It's about understanding that you might not be able to escape it, but you can definitely consume it less. And it's difficult because even though, again, the label says one thing, it doesn't mean the reality behind the label is true. right? So you start with the basics, okay? And so again, there's all these things that play into it. But again, I never want to be a content creator that's claiming to be perfect, because that's not the kind of person that I am. I just believe humans are so imperfect. It's about how can I harm reduce. So if I was Hila or Ethan, the question wouldn't be how do I be perfect? The question would be like, how do I harm reduce? How do I understand this situation keeps happening to me time and time again? Guys, if something keeps happening to you over and over and over and over and over and over again, you should start to ask yourself, why does this keep happening to me? Without victim blaming yourself, but holding yourself accountable. Because Ethan and Hila, I'm sure, are experiencing death threats and are experiencing harassment and are experiencing bad things. But minus that, why does this keep happening to me? What is the reason? Okay, back to the Anthony Ethan.
People on their Instagram because they're going to get harassed. And yet they keep doing what they've been doing for the past 2 years. Beefing. And like, what, can you remember like when Ethan, like, go back to Ethan Klein's Instagram stories. It's like shitting on Hassan, shitting on Denims, shitting on iDubbbz, and like, hey, Teddy Glow comes out in 2 weeks, get your Teddy Glow. That shits on Hassan, shits on Denims, shits on Anissa, shits on iDubbbz, just like makes fun of people. That, hey, buy Teddy Glow. It's like he's trying to promote this fun, exciting makeup brand mixed in with this like shitty, petty internet beef. And like he thinks that's a recipe for like a successful launch, constantly mired in controversy and beefs and shitting on people and putting your like dirty laundry, your personal dirty laundry out in public, airing that shit out week after week. And then, hey, buy my makeup brand. Like, again, no. By the way, I mean, hey, Hamas puts bases under hospitals. Who knows? By the way, if the Palestinians overtake the Jews in Israel, they're going to kill all the Jews. So that's why there needs to be a Jewish majority.
Oops.
Why doesn't anyone want to buy Teddy Glow?
I clicked on a link from
shit,
Discord.
Ethan, I don't know why. I wonder why. You know? But it's our fault. It's people that are, it's anti-Semites, I guess. Anti-Semites like me who've spent thousands of dollars supporting H3. All of a sudden we become anti-Semites overnight, apparently.
We've stopped tagging people. And then I noticed the makeup artist that we worked with, I noticed at some point after we posted that in their story, they shared this and said something like...
So here's the first one. Are you managing diabetes? Lower your A1C.
I think we're okay.
Without finger sticks. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor. Shut up.
I'll play this up.
Do I look diabetic to you?
Have to refresh it so I can speed it up.
So it started...
Hold on, I gotta
Playback
move.
speed 125.
Okay.
With this post, and then I don't know how much to go into the things, but like it's been a while now that I kind of work with people and we don't tag people because of the notice at some point.
Your A1C.
I think we're okay.
Without finger sticks. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor. Shut up.
That's what they said?
Do I look diabetic to you?
That's not the first one. Oh, it is the first one. Sorry.
So you want to explain what you're looking at here?
That's so the makeup artist, he had 2 assistants.
Okay.
And then so he was giving a shout out to one of the assistants, or to both of them, who did this looks, because he did other looks.
Yeah.
The assistants did these 2.
Okay.
He was giving a shout out for them, and I was just going through his stories, and I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, so he shared.
Nogzolotl, hello, who did a beautiful sketch of Maki, by the way. Nogzolotl, here's a quick clip of Maki for you.
You kitty.
Straight white dude who I've recently, Demi's gotten me into skincare, like to keep.
Hold on, I'm gonna skip this section because it's just about skincare, literally.
And then I keep going through his stories, and I get to the next story.
What do you mean?
You'll see.
He was spilling a drink all over the place.
And there, I see this one. A few stories after he shared that.
So who posted this? Him?
Him.
Okay.
And I was like, oh yeah.
So I'll read it. He goes, I don't stand with any government or force that thrives on oppression. I stand with the liberation and safety of all people living under...
So I guess this is one of the guys that was tied to the shoot. I think that the person who like the model
The makeup
or something?
artist, I think.
Truly a brave stance, by the way.
Now I just...
See the mockery? I don't stand with any government or force that thrives on oppression. I stand with liberation and safety for all people under oppression. And then Ethan goes, brave take, bro. Well, in comparison to you and your reputation, the fact that when people work with you, Ethan, people have to make this statement because it's unclear means your brand is bad. Ethan is so bad at branding. His brand is associated with standing for the oppression of people. If my brand, when people heard about it and was working with it, was I stand for the oppression of people, I am fucking up as a brand. Hello? That is your responsibility as a brand to reshape the way the public sees you. That is literally what your job is as a brand. And I don't understand how he's not processing that information. Now, I do believe that most of the money that Ethan has made has got to have come from AdSense, right? How do they become worth 20 million? Was it just Teddy Fresh? I mean, to be fair, Teddy Fresh did pop off at some point. But realistically, like, I wonder how they're making money now. I wonder where it's at, because Gila also obviously put in a lot of money into this makeup brand, probably, and then now is probably not, seeing the benefits. Now, I will say this though: how many people are supporting or reviewing the brand? And look, this isn't new, guys. When makeup YouTube was popping off, there was controversy over brands. Jeffree Star got canceled for doing the the morning palette during one of a tragedy that was happening at the time. I don't remember which one, but people have always been criticized about the timing of their brands because everything is about timing. That's the success of a brand. A brand has to be all about timing. And if you're tone deaf to how the public feels, you're going to put them off your brand. Oh yeah, it was happening during COVID. That makes sense. It's I don't know how these people don't understand it. And maybe it's because they're not really businesses. Well, they are businesses, but maybe it's because they're not really, but even businesses do this. They're so tone deaf. It's just so weird.
I want to also make it clear that after I saw that, I texted him.
Jess Polito says, Anthony's skincare routine. I won't do... we need Demi to be by my side to explain the skincare routine. She'll give you the whole thing, but I got that red bean, some toner. She makes her own soaps that I use. I start by washing my face with one of Demi's.
Thank you, Anthony. Love this.
The rest I don't. I texted him and I was like, I gave him my perspective.
To me.
He's the one that I actually have a phone number of. The rest I don't. I texted him and I was like, I gave him my perspective on everything, and he did send me a really nice message back.
That's good.
That
I don't gatekeep anything.
Look at him sharing.
Sunflower Dragon sends a call to say,
I'm skipping.
Can you imagine how much lost revenue they've had? Can you imagine how I used to
listen to this? Listen.
Buy so much Teddy Fresh, and again, I'm ashamed of it, and I feel bad about it now. I used to spend so much money on Teddy Fresh, and imagine none of this had happened. I would.
By the way, those TikToks I've seen of people donating their Teddy Fresh, or people seeing Teddy Fresh donated to Goodwill, that is the brand reject. People are rejecting your brand, and they're like, "You can't reject us. We reject you." It's they're so entitled to people loving their brand. Guys, none of us are entitled to viewership. None of us are entitled to a fan base. None of us are entitled to business. At the end of the day, we are lucky people love our brands. We are lucky people see our vision. We are lucky that people subscribe. We are lucky that we feel heard. We are not entitled to it. And it feels like Ethan and Gila feel entitled. They feel upset when they're rejected. It's a very weird way to conduct a business. It's very personal. They make it almost too personal, but not personal enough in a sense. Does that kind of make sense? It's almost like they take everything so personally, but they don't understand why other people are taking it personally. So when other content creators are upset with their work, they're like, why are you taking it so personally? And then when people criticize them, they're like, oh, this is about us. It's just very strange.
You could think I would have still bought Teddy Fresh consistently over the last 2 years.
If this had come out when I still liked them, I would have bought this palette. If Gila's makeup brand came out when I was still a fan, I would have bought that palette. But now I'm not a fan, so I won't buy the palette. That's how it works, Gila.
That's a paying customer who used to spend thousands on Teddy Fresh that has stopped supporting them financially. There's thousands like me. There's thousands like us right now. Just Sunflower Dragon. The two of us. They're just alone. Again, should I bring out my stack? I showed you guys my stack. Do I still have the video open here? No, I'll open up my episode one more time.
Hold on. He's going to talk. He's proving his... Okay, Ethan does this thing where he's like, no fan of mine hates me. Now listen to me. I am very clear about if my viewers who've been here are criticizing me, I pay more attention to the criticism. If viewers who don't watch me regularly are like, Brittany, I watch your content and I can't believe you're saying this. Don't lie to me, bro. You do not watch the content. You can't watch on occasion and be like, I watch the content. Okay? Because again, we discuss things every day. I'm changing my mind all of the time. You have to be updated. But if people who watch me every day are like, hey, Britt, I feel like this is off the mark, I'd be like, hold up. You're here every day. Let me take note. But if it's a person who watches me every 6 months, girl, I don't care what you got to say. You're not a fan because you haven't even kept up 6 months ago. You're outdated, right? So Anthony has to prove that look how much Teddy Fresh I used to own. I've owned Teddy Fresh, right? I got them on sale because I can't afford the real prices, but I bought Teddy Fresh on sale and then I got rid of it all. Because again, brands matter, and I'm not about to come on stream with a Teddy Fresh brand because I don't want to promote the brand. See how that works? That's just how stuff works.
T-shirts. This isn't even everything. I have more stuff. So yeah, they could call us anti-Semites all they want. It doesn't really make a difference. Thank you so much, Sunflower Dragon.
And see how it's always oh, you're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. What? If that doesn't even make sense for us to have been fans of yours, or to have, you know what I mean? again, it's like if I was an anti-Semite, I mean, I would have to hate myself, but maybe I could have internalized anti-Semitism. It's possible. It is possible. I don't think that's what's happening, but.
And Meg Frost sends another $5 dono and says, King, I have to go to a doctor's appointment, but I'm so curious if you watched Chris's live stream with a CWHM yesterday.
Oh yeah, so listen to this. So this is Chris. He's talking about Chris Kunzler, the chatter, and he's talking about that girl who went on to talk to Chris after.
Felt about it. Meg, I watched some of it because I had to live stream as well. I played Sifu on the gaming channel. Nobody watched it though. Everybody was watching Chris. I was in the live chat. I put in a bunch of comments in there. I watched a lot of it. I thought, look, it was very nice of Chris to have that conversation. He did what I didn't. I was kind of like a dick to Madison.
Thank you, Anthony, for taking accountability, because sometimes Anthony can be a little, like in this stream alone, he kept saying like, how do the girls feel about the makeup, and never included the boys, even though I know he's like supportive of LGBT communities. He can be, sometimes he can say things. So I appreciate it when he holds himself accountable.
And I like really criticized her. He showed her a lot more grace, which was what she needed. She was really overwhelmed. She was scared. She was getting harassed by like the H3 community and stuff. And some people for not calling it a genocide. Like she was scared. She was getting it from all ends. Mainly from H3 fans. So it was very nice of him to just bring her into like a safe environment where she can just have a chill and nice conversation. Chris is fucking amazing. We love Chris over here. So I watched a good portion of it, but it was very long, and I was also live streaming at the same time. So yeah, Lil Papaya sends $5. Thank you so much, Lil Papaya. It says, God forbid I don't want war criminal makeup. It's only an added bonus. The colors and quality isn't worth the price. Hey, I hear you guys. At this point, we can't support these people anymore, sadly. And they made it that way. There could have been, I swear to God, there's a scenario. If they had said the right fucking thing and reacted to this whole genocide the right way, there is a scenario where I might have still even supported them. But they have chosen.
I mean, definitely, right? Definitely. There's always a chance for you to reaffirm your beliefs and come back and say, fuck, okay, I fucked up. I did some research. My bad. Let's go full in. Right? Of course there was always a chance. There's still a chance right now.
The opposite.
He's not like ashamed of what we've done together, or he's not.
He didn't erase his stuff as far as I saw.
Look, the fundamental belief in general of a progressive is that people can change. We have to fundamentally believe in change, or we wouldn't do what we were doing. We are waiting, open arms, for Ethan and Gila to change. The thing is we also can't wait around for you to change, because you might never change. So when you're ready, the door is open. But until then...
He never posted it. It's just one story.
It was just a story.
But I think he sent me a really nice message, so I just want to make that clear. I don't want this to become a witch hunt on anybody.
Well, it's also worth acknowledging on the other hand that I understand how scary it is when you get mobbed by a bunch of lunatics who are like, you support genocide. Your career is over, buddy. And then you get like super defensive because you're like, I don't support genocide. What are you talking about?
Yeah, especially when you're not used to it. You're not used to backlash. You do something like makeup or whatever. You're not used to being thrown into the middle of this.
And then also like being mobbed by like 100 people telling you the same thing is like what you... It makes sense that you would just believe them. You're like, this can't be just made up, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, look, I get. Let's be 100. Let's keep it 100. The shirt he's wearing, this jacket, isn't horrible looking.
All saying the same thing.
And again, when you're not used to it, that feels like a million people.
You know, maybe I would have bought that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I do think I think Anthony's pretty good at this too. I think we're both really good at saying like, hey, I like that, or like that could have looked nice, because like I don't have to hate everything they put out. I'm not a hater just for hater's sake. I feel like a lot of people are haters just for hater's sake. I'm not. I am not a hater just for hater's sake. I will not hate something just because someone I hated made it. I will be honest. Oh yeah, I really liked that. It sucks. I really liked that, but I can't buy it because, like I still use to this day a Kat Von D palette that I bought years ago. I would never buy a Kat Von D palette now, right? Because of her anti-vax and her weird fucking MAGA whatever. But like, I stand by that her original vegan palettes are some of the best palettes I've ever had in my life. The eyeshadow is just like so fucking perfect. Okay, I'm gonna cry the moment I finish this palette and never have it again. But I think like people just like to be haters for haters' sake. So they'll be like, oh, Hila's fashion sucks or Teddy Fresh sucks. I didn't hate Teddy Fresh. I still don't really hate it. I'm a big fan of pastel and block colors, but it is what it is. I don't have to be a hater just to be a hater. I'm too at peace. No offense. Like I'm way too peaceful of a person internally to like give a fuck about hating for hating's sake. But it is what it is. I just think like people have to work on that, but that takes time. I used to be a hater for hater's sake because it's fun to hate. But yeah, I'm too old.
I don't love the material, I would say, but like,
my art, my voice will
it's
always
an interesting jacket.
belong to those fighting to live freely and without fear. That's who I create for. That's where my art stays. Apologies to anyone I've offended. Honestly, I didn't have a big problem with it until the last line. He's like, apology to anyone I've hurt or offended. For what? I just was like, okay. But at this point, it wasn't really a big deal. It was just him.
And at least in this one, like, he didn't call anybody by name.
Yeah.
He didn't make it about me or about...
Artful Decadence agrees. He says, I was about to say the same. It looks a bit plastic, but I like the smoky blue. Yeah, the blue, and I like how they've always had an interesting way of like doing like double colors and like the color blocks and stuff like that. I've always liked that. So the way the blue goes into the black, but it's a bit too sudden for me. Like if it was more of a transition between black to darker blue to like dark, it would have been nice. But like that, it's a nice concept of a jacket that they have.
Glow.
Yeah.
Raimi does not agree. He thinks it's a lame jacket. No Time to Explain also calls it boring. Hey, let's, you know, that's why this chat is so lively, folks.
That was the first one I saw.
I think he made an effort to remain professional.
To just let people know where his heart is and still acknowledge.
I'll say this, chat. I don't know if you mean it this way, but it stood out to me. You said Teddy Fresh had a lot of designs that seemed unusable and too bright. I like their Care Bear collab, though. I don't know what you mean by that, because I will tell you this. It's true that they have a lot of designs that only specific people could wear because of the way that America works. But in Croatia, you know what I've noticed about Croatians? The fashion girlies of all ages, they stand out. The old ladies in particular are my favorite. Bright colors, bright hair. I mean, like blue hair, old ladies, really big pastels, like fashion shoulders. And they'll be sitting on the bus with each other with their little like baguettes. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Their little fresh bread of the day. And I'm like, what? These queens are out here being so bright. And I'm like, this is the goal. This is my goal. When I point them out to my partner, I'm like, this is me. You've married this person. I will be this person. I will be this, like, you know, in all capacities, just like exaggerated fashion diva one day when we can afford it, girl. But it is so cool. Like, even the girlies that are going to the office, they're so put together. They're more muted, I think, in a sense, but they're very like, they stand out still. You can just see the differences in everyone's fashion statements. The men, the people who show, like, I love, Croatia really is fashionable. I will say, like, especially early in the, like when we go to town for like government appointments early in the morning, I do not look fashionable. Let me tell you, I look dead in a zombie, and I'm just looking at all these beautiful people and I'm like, holy fuck, like goals, absolute goals. But you're right that generally to stand out, you'd have to also be able to stand out. And that's what Gila's brand always felt like, is like very, you know, it felt like very like, I don't know if streetwear is the right word, but it felt very adjacent. Like, you know, there was something very lovable about it. And then it just sucks that the brand has been so impacted, but that is normal. Guys, it is normal for brands to be impacted by the way they do business. That is the consumer power. You have power. You have power as a consumer. You can boycott Amazon, which I have not shopped at Amazon this whole time. You can boycott Teddy Fresh. That is the power of the consumer. Do not let these people trick you into thinking you do not hold the power as the consumer. Make the decision where you spend your dollar bills. That's why they're upset with you. They're upset with you because you have the power and they don't want you to have it. See how they've turned into capitalist corporation? Ethan and Hila have to accept that the one power we have as the consumer is where to spend our money.
Something. I understand the statement. It does hurt to see it.
Oh, Jolly St. Nick's in chat. He says, I hope Hila's doing well.
Thank you.
I
received your message when you said your message on stream.
Oh, yeah.
The day that I was most upset.
I love Nicholas.
Dizzle McFizzle.
This is crazy. This section here, I need you to understand, I was so shocked by listening to this section. I don't think anyone's prepared. If anyone understands like YouTube lore or like Twitter lore, I cannot believe this section of the live stream. Like, you have to understand. I'll just let you listen.
Sends a $5 donut. Thank you so much, Dizzle. And says, Ethan, oh my God, why does no one want to work with me? Has spent the last 2 years defending the worst genocide in 80 years. It's a mystery. Look, honestly, I wouldn't even say that's the thing about Ethan too. He hasn't consciously defended it. He thinks that by saying, I'm calling it a genocide, I hate Netanyahu, he thinks that's enough. He thinks by disavowing Netanyahu and the genocide, that means he's done. But then he goes ahead and says, if the Palestinians outnumber the Jews, we're done for. And Hamas builds bases under hospitals. And if you say from the river to the sea, you're anti-Semitic. And like, so it's like, which is it? Which is it? Because by saying those things, you are in a way justifying, like, well, what's the IDF supposed to do? If like, when you're saying that Hamas builds bases under hospitals, what is the implication of that? When he keeps talking about the systematic rape that Hamas or that like the rebels were doing over there. He made rape seem like it was part of the plan. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, there are more accounts of Israelis raping Palestinian prisoners than there ever were of Palestinians.
Which, big news on that front, y'all. That group of Israeli soldiers that sexually assaulted a Palestinian captive, they're out here defending themselves and trying to defend themselves as they were doing it for Israel. This Palestinian captive needed literal surgery from the internal damage they experienced under the hands of the IOF. And not only that, but you want to talk about political rapes allegedly are being actually used in Sudan. And so, like, there are things happening in big ways that I can't even begin to tell you or keep track of. You know what I mean? But, oh, trust me when I say this, that there are, again, nobody here is defending rape. Rape is atrocious, period, every time. It's the idea that Israel weaponized the rape that occurred to say that because it was allegedly systematic, which has not been proven, that then we get to justify a genocide. No genocide is ever justifiable for any reason, period. Right? That's the point. Chess says, doesn't Gila steal designs though? I don't think so. I don't think that's ever been, I've never heard that. But also, listen to me when I say this. Nobody makes anything original, but I've never heard that she copies things verbatim. Like, I've never heard that. You know what I mean? So, but I don't know. Is that news? I've never heard that. Is that true? I don't know. You guys have to tell me. But I've never heard that. But I will say this, that you don't create anything original, but you can't steal. You can't fully see something and copy it, you know, like these fast fashion brands do. They see small creators and they copy literally verbatim the pattern and put it on their fast fashion. No.
Doing the opposite. So it's just like, he says things that make it seem like he supports a genocide, but then says, I never voted for Bibi. I call it a genocide. What else do you want? There's a lot more that you need to say, man. There's a lot more.
Chat says they fired employees for stealing designs. Oh, like did one of their designers do it? Oh, like one of their designers did it and then she fired them? Oh.
Like, I'm going to take my family to Israel and vlog the whole thing and show you how fun it is. Like, no, while people are getting fucking slaughtered in the background, man. Dizzle, thank you for the generous donor. We love you. And Dana sends $2 and says, every time I see AB, I feel like...
Oh, my Discord said she has been accused of plagiarism. Ooh, noted.
Taking a shot of vodka. Someone mentioned he looks a little bit waxy in this video. Look, I don't want to comment on AB's physical appearance. I don't want to comment on anyone's physical appearance. But I'm not going to stop you in the comments.
Diorio, I'll say it. I've been watching your content. I think you're very...
I will stop you in my comments. If you rudely go after people's appearance that doesn't seem justified, I will go after you in my comments.
I think you're very funny.
Yeah, and wait. They're complimenting Nicholas the Oreo. Nick Eats the Oreo, the guy who does what is it called? Rape review? Weekly epic rape review?
Listen to this. Listen to this. Okay.
I'll say it.
There is this guy on Twitter. Delario, whatever. I used to see him all the time on X because he was in the Destiny sphere and he was with all those fucking losers. And I would see him and sometimes I showed one time his message on stream and I was like, I don't know what this is. And apparently it was like a joke and everyone's like, oh, haha, Brittany fell for the joke. All I know is this guy's a troll who writes the most shittiest things on Twitter, who is like one of the most like disgusting men on X. And I'm sitting here like he's a drama farmer. He's always making fights with people. He takes the wrong position on every fucking controversy. And I'm like, what is happening? And then to hear that Ethan and Gila have not only been watching him, but like him. And I'm like, what am I taking crazy pills right now? This is crazy. Like, this is like, this is like, they are siding with Keemstar, basically. And now apparently they've been nice to Keemstar, allegedly. And I'm like, do you know what I'm saying? These are the kinds of people that will be nice to the worst people on the internet if they side with them. This is why I say, like, don't sit there and pretend you're on my side. Fuck you too. Because there are horrible people that are like, yeah, Brittany, I really support you. And I'm like, not you, bitch. Nope. I gotta stop saying the B word. Not you. I don't want your support. Okay? I don't want support of the worst people on the planet because that either means I'm doing something completely wrong, or it means that like they're just trying to use me to push an agenda. I will not be used to push your agenda. Okay?
I've been watching your content. I think you're very...
I received your message when you said your message on stream.
Oh, yeah.
The day that I was most upset.
I love Nicholas Diorio. I'll say it. I've been watching your content. I think you're very funny guy.
And AB starting the cheer for Nicholas the Oreo. So does he actually? I've never wanted to look it up. I've been too afraid and too disgusted by myself to type in like ultimate rape review into my computer to see what the fuck the segment is. Like if someone can share a video of it on Discord or something on our Discord, just so I can actually witness this for myself.
Wait, so this is why I said Ethan's like that black lesbian who said I'm not transphobic. He's a man. That's Ethan. He's like, I'm not pro the genocide. Oh my God, if Palestinians have more control, they're going to kill us. It's like, what? Like, he says, like, it's not, you don't understand what you're saying. I need you to understand what you're saying for me to trust you. You know, it's like when your homophobic parents are like, I'm not anti-gay, but when I see gay people, my tummy hurts. It's like, I support all of God's children, but when I see you, I want to vomit. It's like, yeah, we're going to have problems with this.
Like, this is what happens when you have no allies, Ethan. Your allies are now Keemstar, Nick Eats the Oreo, Loner Box. Who else? Like, what is going on, man? You had to Do Not Worry
Loner Box, who went and did publicity and propaganda for Israel. Remember that.
Podcast, man, nestled in the heart of Lebanon. And look at this. Oh, Nick the Oreo, we love you.
And I feel like your coverage has been really good on topics that I end up watching. Like, you're good with research.
He's the Pope. And I'll say,
by the way, like the stream, folks. Like the stream if you're watching live. And if you're watching live and you want to join in the live chat, subscribe to the channel. Support us. Help us get back to 30K subs. Please, oh please. It tasted so good. The 30K felt so nice, folks. You just ripped it away from me. Ripped it away from me.
This, Nick, I never thought in a million fucking years I would ever utter these words. Like, if you went back 3 years ago or something,
I know.
I would have never even dreamed that you actually were talented.
See? He goes, years ago, you would have been my enemy. You were my enemy. But now, since you're taking my side, you're my friend. No principles, no values, bro. I was shocked. I was literally floored listening to this segment. I was like, I cannot believe this man will be friends with, I almost said Hitler. But honestly, it feels like Ethan will be friends with the devil himself if Lucifer's like, don't worry, bro, I got you. And he's like, based. Like, it feels that way. And I'm like, you are willing to be friends with the worst people in the world as long as you feel defended. Bro.
But desperate, talented. Ooh, that's nice. But desperate times call for desperate men.
I mean, to be fair. No, Brittany.
Measures, and Nick Eat the Oreo is now my ally.
I'm just being serious.
I always thought he was quick-witted. I mean, even though we had different opinions, back then, I felt like he was always...
Brother in Christ. Okay? Brother. AB, brother. I can't believe, but I can believe.
Always good on his toes.
I never really tuned in, to be fair.
I avoided.
Or Destiny, yeah. Noxolato says that Nick Eat the Oreo was spamming Chris Kunzer's live chat, making fun of Madison. That does not surprise me. I actually apologized to Madison on that live stream. I sent the super chat. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I was hard on Madison. That's what I did. I apologized. I tried to reckon with my mistakes.
As you
Chris
should have.
sends $2 and writes in Arabic. Let's read this. Abdullah Yakhay.
I'm going to skip super chats.
Thank you so much. This episode reminds me, like, they put makeup in a shotgun and like shoot it at someone's face.
Skip this.
These people don't like us, so I just never even watched anything.
Just for sanity.
I totally avoided everything.
Which is like the same reason I don't open the Snark subreddit.
Oh my God.
Also, to be fair, Nick.
So he said, I don't open the Snark subreddit. Then who's feeding him this information? And whoever is needs to stop. You need to stop doing that, bro. You need to stop. You know?
Okay, he just said he doesn't open the Snark subreddit. So, okay, start there. Great. Don't open the Snark subreddit. You get criticism on there. Don't open it. Why do you need to sue them? You, again, I'm trying to...
See, why do you need to sue? Why do you need to sue? Why are you so hungry? It's so capitalistic. It's so America. It's so corporation to be like, I'm going to sue you. Girl.
Sue a subreddit is like Hydra. Cut off one head. 2 heads will take its place. You can't. It's like stopping a website that does like a movie pirating. You stop one movie website, there's 10 more that pop up. Shutting down the subreddit, suing the subreddit. It doesn't work, man. Haven't you read your Marvel comics? Haven't you watched your MCU? Cut off one head, 2 more shall take its place. What? Look at TikTok. TikTok's on fire. If you wanted to sue someone, sue TikTok, man. They fucking hate you on there, Ethan. What's going on?
The way Ethan's like, Reddit needs to be held accountable. We need to take down Reddit. This man is so anti-free speech. It's insane. Like, this man is literally he wants to take down all of Reddit. He's like, Reddit needs to be held accountable. This man doesn't go after individual creators alone. He wants to take down whole businesses. And then he's like, I can't believe people are boycotting Teddy Fresh. He literally can't imagine that people just aren't buying Teddy Fresh. And now he's like, we should take down all these businesses.
Dizzle McFizzle sends another fiver. Thank you so much, Dizzle. Our beloved Dizzle. Honestly, biggest disappointment about Ethan was they had a huge platform and really could have helped the people in Gaza instead of defending his ego. Exactly. It became a personal thing.
He could have helped so many people, and it became about Ethan.
It became me, my life, my struggles, how it's affected me. And again, like it was a little bit exaggerated how it was affecting him, but it became the Let's Talk About Anti-Semitism podcast while literal thousands of people.
Wait, chat says that's interesting. Do you remember what he said, or is it the general vibe? Clarify. Are you talking to me? Or Anthony dropped a super chat and apologized to Madison? Yeah, he just said that. He just talked about it. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else, chat.
We're getting slaughtered in the background. Ethan's like, woe is me. I am suffering. Let's make this all about me.
Totally. That's the vibe. Look, Ethan made this brand for himself. We will not be gaslit. We are not imagining this. Ethan made this woe is me, Ethan. Everybody saw it. And he's just like, no, I'm not. Habibi, we didn't make this up. You will not gaslight us. We know what we're seeing, what we're experiencing when we watch you. Ethan. Me. He is, you know what I'm saying? Like him trying to pretend that that's not what's happening. Why would we all have this vibe? Sometimes men will do this, generally speaking, where men will tell me stories about themselves. And then I'll be like, hey, I need to like call you out for this behavior. And they're like, who talked to you? Who told you this? You, Habibi, you told me this. And they're like, when did I tell you this? When you said this story. If this is the story you tell me, and then I call you out for what you told me, you can't be like, who have you been talking to? You. What do you mean?
And aside, I feel so bad for them, but let's talk about me for the next 45 minutes and shit on Hassan. That's what he did.
Used to participate in some really nasty stuff like calling Hila horseface and stuff. That being said, water under the bridge. But
He's like, Delorio, whatever. You should make fun of Hila and call her horse face. All water under the bridge now that you love me. Doesn't matter. Hila, who said she was literally so depressed because people were attacking her for the way she looked. Keemstar, I think, started this, right? Oh, now water under the bridge because you support me. I hated that whole era of H3 attacks. I hated the way people came for Hila. I hated it. Okay? Ridiculous. And then now he's just like water under the bridge.
I'm just saying there was a reason.
Yeah, but he thought that I wouldn't forgive him or anything, but I actually watch your content.
Oh my God, forgive. I love you actually now. I literally love you now. I watch you.
Pretty regularly now.
I
wouldn't forgive him or anything, but I actually watch your content pretty regularly now.
I like.
Oh my God. I'm watching your content all the time.
I can't believe it, bro.
My favorite segment is when you review all those rips. You should look at some of the Israeli guards that are, ripping Palestinian prisoners. I wonder what review you'd give those.
Diorio, I gotta admit it. I'm a Diorio fan.
You're setting him up though now, because now this is bad luck.
He's gonna turn on me.
Something's gonna happen. You just
and I'll be like, I fucking always hated that.
Lil Papaya, stop. Lil Papaya, you gotta stop sending donos. Too much generosity. Sends $2 and says, "Why open a Snark Reddit when he is a snarker?" Well, I mean, of course, the H3 subreddit, the whole thing is a snark subreddit. And again, they're too dumb to fucking listen to the one fucking guy who's actually giving.
Anthony, you're too generous, bro. Anthony, I understand. I used to be an Anthony where I was like, listen to me, I can help. I remember when I was trying to bridge the gap between Abba and Preach and Ethan. Like, you guys could see each other. You could make it work, but you got to stop, bullshitting around all these topics. These people don't want to get to know each other. They don't want to de-escalate. They don't want to be like, But I tell you this right now, both of them are so willing. Both of them would be willing to team up together if it was against somebody they didn't like. Because that's how it works.
This fucking guy advice to try to fucking save his show. Fucking dumbasses. Toby's Dog Walker sends $2 and says, Ethan is spewing Costco levels of self-pity. It's all it's been. It's been 2 years of self-pity. Look, I had my own little self-pity party like 3 weeks ago or whatever when the whole thing happened. But he's been doing that for 2 years. You know what I mean? If I had kept going down that pathway, what the fuck would have happened? I would have...
So this happened a while back. You might not know the context of this. Anthony, I could be wrong, but I think he's talking about the Hassan shot caller thing where he made a comment about it and was critical towards Hassan. And then people turned on him and unsubscribed en masse or whatever. And they were like, oh my God, fuck you for having this opinion of questioning Hassan even for a second. And then he was like, what the fuck? And then he privated the streams. And then he kind of had to correct the audience and just say this isn't a Hassan fan channel. I can have my own opinions against Hassan. And I think that's what he's referencing, but he felt really bad about it because I understand. I also got incredibly brigaded by both Hassan haters and Hassan fans. And I was like, what are you guys yelling at me for? And I was like, what are you doing? Right? So he felt very impacted because we know when you're a small channel, you lose a lot of people. It feels very impactful, which is why I don't hold my breath about reaching milestones. Sometimes people are like, "Oh my God, congrats, Brittany, you got 97,000 followers." Yeah, but it's gonna go down in a second because that's how that's unless you go viral and you get a big uptick of followers. The truth is like you're always gonna fluctuate. That's why I don't celebrate like subscriber counts because they just don't matter to me. And also they don't matter on YouTube anyways. Channels with 1,000 subs can get 1 million views on a video. Like sub counts only matter for clout and to feel validated by YouTube because people do validate you. Like brands will work with you if you have subscribers, even if the views don't follow. They just want the subscriber. It's very, I don't know, capitalist. Okay. The point is though, because when people insult you, they'll be like, "You have no subscribers." It's like, relax, bro. So it's all about them views. That's what it's about. It's about views because views are how we get paid as well with AdSense. We don't get paid based off subscribers. We get paid off views on videos, right? So it doesn't matter, but that's what I think Anthony's talking about here.
We made my whole episode, my whole audience. I would have spent every episode looking at angry Reddit messages about me or reading negative comments. And the more you complain about those, the more you're encouraged. Like, for example, I'm sure no one on Reddit has spoken about me in 3 fucking weeks. I'm sure no one cares. But like, let's say I kept perpetuating it and I kept reading their comments. They would have had like another post like, "Hey, this guy's fucking crazy." And I would have reacted to that. And they would have reacted to that. And I would have reacted to that.
Exactly. You would have kept it going and you wouldn't have healed from it. And then it would have been crazy. Exactly the decision I've made with my own channel. But I understand that the YouTube ecosystem works this way. Guys, behind the scenes curtain. I'm gonna Wizard of Oz it right now for you. The truth is, these channels that fight each other do it because it brings in views. Do you remember when I reviewed Fresh and Fit and Ethan talking? And I looked at Ethan funny and I said, "Why aren't you talking to these people? You've already debated them. You know they're not good people. Why are you talking to Fresh and Fit? Why are you putting them?" He messaged them. And it's because that he knows that's how he makes money. They know that's how they make money. And that felt very slimy to me that Ethan's like, "Let's debate." You don't need to platform these men. You already know they're shitty. And so like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's like this way you can conduct yourself. You would think in a position of privilege that Ethan is in, he wouldn't have to fight Fresh and Fit and platform them in order to bring in views, but he does because Ethan's whole brand has been built off attacking YouTubers and fighting with them. That is always Ethan's brand. That has been his brand. And I'm sick of people pretending it wasn't because Ethan pretends it wasn't. Ethan goes, "It's not like I go after people." Ethan's whole vibe is going after people, but in his head, it's not. It's really interesting.
It just takes like someone to stop.
And by the way, I do not go after people, but I talk about everybody because people don't know the difference. I am not interested in talking to these people. I will never answer a DM from a YouTuber who's like, "Hey, I saw you make a video about me. Let's talk about it." No. Especially if it's somebody I'm being critical of. No. But Ethan will because that's what he's trying to do. Okay? Right? Is Do Not Worry in the chat right now, bros? Yes, they are. Shout out to Anthony. Greetings from Beirut. Super chat. Thank you so much, bro. I just saw it. I didn't even, my bad. No more mean comments allowed. No more mean comments allowed. I just saw it. Sorry about that. I was delayed. Thank you so much. Happy to have you here. Shout out to Anthony. We're highlighting your stream from the other day because I thought you had a lot of really good points just about like if Ethan and Hila really in the depth of their consciousness apologized and really saw what they did, right? Like they would be embraced because that's what we want. We want people to reform. We want people to change. We want people to stand up for the marginalized. And so it just feels like, yes, and shout out to the gents who wear makeup. Shout out to the gents who wear makeup. Let's go. You know? It's like we want people to reform. We wouldn't sit here and say we wouldn't. Don't we want a world that's better and kinder and more compassionate, right? And so that's why we're highlighting your stream because I thought you made great points there that we want people to get better. So the fact that Ethan is willing to be friends with everyone who hates his enemies feels like so counterintuitive to like standing up for what's right, right? Now, chat says, "Can you explain why not? Is it not helpful or productive?" Do you mean like platforming Fresh and Fit and stuff? So, okay, there's a difference between talking about people, which I think is important because we have to highlight real people's lives to learn about our own, and the difference between like if I got on stream and I said, "Okay, guys, we're going to get Ethan's attention today," which by the way, I do not want to manifest. Please don't pay attention to me. But if I sat there and said, "Okay, guys, we're going to get their attention today," does that feel kind of slimy a little bit? Like if I got up here and I was like, you know, because then doesn't that just benefit my ego and me? Isn't that like, doesn't that just benefit, like, what way does this benefit marginalized communities for me to bring a hostile voice onto my platform? Right? Which I've done in the past, by the way. I did that when I was in the Debate Bro bubble. Women said, Brittany, why are you talking to these people? This is really like harmful. And I said, well, hold on, let's build bridges. Let's reform people. And they left. And then when I banned that community from my sphere, they came back. Okay. So why would I, at this point of my I've learned, why would I bring this energy into my space and alienate the audience that I've spent so much time cultivating and you know, wanting to make a safe space for my audience, especially here. Okay, I heavily mod here. I heavily mod the comments on this channel. Okay. For this reason, I want there to be a place on YouTube you can come to hear voices that are going to support you and be more nuanced. That trans woman in the bathroom video we covered, somebody said, you're the first video I've seen cover this that isn't transphobic. Guys, it's so important that out of the 10 voices that are covering this story that are transphobic, somebody who isn't transphobic covers it. And points out the bullshit of how transphobia is trying to turn this story around. Because remember, they're trying to move the goalpost. I'm just trying to be the one voice, if possible, hopefully there will be more, who says, hold up. Wait a second. Okay. Chad said Brittany's ban list is easily a mile long. Oh, my ban list is crazy. Nothing makes me happier than banning a bigot. I live for it. I do. I live for it, bro. I live for it. Okay, wait, hold on. Did I get a follow-up message or no? Does that make sense? Did I clarify? I feel like, look, because listen. Okay, in my world, Brittany's world, I take seriously the reality that I will be old one day. And I've seen the community around me. I've seen the way the elders have showed up. I've seen the ways the adults in the community have failed to be elders. I've seen the way the people that are old in the community have failed to be there for younger people. And a big part of being older is not losing touch with the youth and yet giving the wisdom to the youth. Ethan is 40 and has done none of the due diligence to age with wisdom. So Ethan is a great example of who you do not want to be in the story. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be 40 years old and Ethan Klein. He really is like my nightmare. You know what I mean? Him and all these boys who get to 40 years old, or even Whitney Cummings and all these, I can name women too, girl, I'll go after everybody. But like being this old and this ignorant is just not who I want to be. And even though I'll always be ignorant because I'll always be learning, I don't have to be that ignorant. You know, I don't have to be that out of the... So Ethan is just... Current day Ethan, this stream, Anthony just posted this stream. Ethan just posted this stream. It's not like he's viewing Ethan from 2 years ago. This is Ethan now. This is Gila now. And so again, I'm not trying to attack anybody, but I'm dead serious that if we don't do something, then the world will just be the same always. We can't keep doing the same thing and not, and expecting a change. Ethan and Gila are doing absolutely nothing to grow and change, and they are just good examples of what stagnation looks like. Sometimes people ask me, Brittany, who do you like name an adult who doesn't grow? Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird to see an adult person with all of the resources and none of the growth? This is why I say be careful who you are in the story, because some adults, they just stop. They just get to an age and they stop. They get older, but they don't grow. Right? I don't want to be them in the story. Okay, let me know if you need follow-up answers on that whole, that question you guys asked. Otherwise, let's go ahead and go back to Anthony.
Engaging. Just stop engaging with it. For one, you will save yourself so much fucking grief, and then you're giving your critics or whoever it is, less content to engage with. But when you're constantly reacting to exactly what it is they're saying and doing whole episodes about it, they're going to do more and you're going to react again, and it's just this fucking endless loop till now your wife is releasing a makeup brand and it's flopping the launch. And now you're like, should we even do this? Can we even launch a brand? Can we even sustain this? My guy, I've been telling you what to do for the past year. Mabadak this, you don't want to hear it. Nothing I can do more to help. But I've been trying my best for one reason or another, as you insult me constantly. At this point, I'm just criticizing. I'm not really take it as you will. Mustafa Jav 9302 sends $5. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Says these attempts to sue so many people also perpetuates a certain stereotype. I won't say. I mean, it perpetuates the stereotype of like a rich fucking asshole who is swinging his dick around.
Exactly. So the implication of the chatter, of course, is like, you know, but I think Anthony's on point right here. It is the exact stereotype of a rich, entitled, spoiled fucking brat. I put the fucking in there, okay? Who's using every position of power he has to literally stomp on the small guy. He is capitalism personified. That is so frustrating to see Ethan become this person, given his origin on YouTube.
And using his money as a weapon to intimidate people and silence critics. That is the stereotype that comes to mind, to be honest with you. And it's very troublesome because it's an exact stereotype that Ethan used to criticize in the past when it came to Ryan Kavanaugh, saying that Ryan Kavanaugh is literally suing him to intimidate him. He's using his money. He's being like the douchey fucking billionaire who's using his money to scare people away. And Ethan has become that person. And instead of literally, bro, the first time I was invited to H3, I was like, hey, drop the lawsuits.
Okay, listen.
Come on. It actually got a pretty positive response from the audience. A lot of people were like, you know what? If he actually drops the lawsuits, I might actually listen to him. He didn't take that seriously. They made fun of me for saying that. The second time they invited me on their show, I said the same thing. Even though I was a little bit more tempted to go on their show, I said the same thing. I said, hey, drop the lawsuits and I will consider coming on. They probably made fun of me again for saying that. But the second time I said it, there was less support because people were giving Ethan less benefit of the doubt. Now, if I say, hey, drop the lawsuits, they're going to be like, dude, don't even bother. But the first time I mentioned it, there was actually hope. There was hope from like fallen fans that were like, you know what, if he does drop him, I might actually even at least listen to him. You made fun of that. More time goes by. You harass more people. People were less willing to listen to that. And then they tried to like bring me on.
Yeah, so there's a burnt outedness that is happening in the communities where we feel like there's so much time and resources that have to go into other things that giving Ethan the benefit of the doubt, it's wasted resource. Okay, not that Ethan is a lost cause, because no one's a lost cause, but what happens is that people, you can't give them the resources. So my personal way of doing things now is to imagine a coffee shop. The doors are always open, but I'm not going to leave my coffee shop to tell you to come. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm over here. Come. No. You either find the coffee shop or you don't. In Seattle, there's this restaurant called the Pink Door. I've only been there once, but they don't have a sign on the door. You just have to walk around until you see a pink door in the alley, and then that's, you know, the restaurant's there. That's my coffee shop. I'm like isn't there a sci-fi episode of Doctor Who, something like this, where you can't see the door unless the door is meant for you? That's what I imagine my door to my coffee shop is. This is my little coffee shop. And you can't just come into my coffee shop and yell like slurs in the chat. Okay, you are in my lobby, I suppose. Well, I'm making a latte. You know, you can't do that. Okay, I don't want you to come into my little coffee shop, you know, but if Hello Discord says, love the Pink Door. Shout out. I loved they were so nice to me when I went. The owner was like very sweet to me. Love the Pink Door. Okay. So, same thing. Like, I don't want Ethan to just know my coffee shop exists. I want my coffee shop to be absolutely invisible to him until he's ready to see it, because he's ready to walk in and say, okay, make me my latte. And I'm like, got it. You know, he's ready. Otherwise, it's not my job to go out, stand on the street and be like, come get it, which I used to do. I used to stand at the corner of my shop and be like, here, I'm right here. I used to bring attention. To myself, thinking I could get these boys. If they just had the information, these boys would all change. Nope.
Like when the whole Hassan thing happened, like, join us and Anthony and call in and whatever the fuck. I'm like, I mean, and get what from it? If I actually call you, dude, that means I'm condoning the things you've said. So I'm like, at least do the concession, drop the lawsuits, put us on equal ground. Like, why would I want to go on a show that is suing people that I like? That is suing.
Exactly. Now, chat said, hold on. Do you think Ethan should be deplatformed, or is that not the way? I'm not sure what the harm reduction here would be. So if the formula is reducing harm, is Ethan being deplatformed more harm or less harm? Well, you have to look at it in terms of maybe the YouTube ecosystem. It would be better to deplatform Ethan. But then if you zoom out to the larger ecosystem, why is YouTube getting the right to deplatform Ethan? So what did the corporation YouTube, what power are we giving YouTube to deplatform Ethan? What did he do? Versus saying for the community it would be beneficial. But we remember that we're still on a website called Google, and Google is our boss. And at the end of the day, like, Google, you don't want to give Google the power to be out here just deplatform. They better have a reason to deplatform people or to demonetize people. So we have to remember that Ethan isn't the biggest fish on YouTube. He's just a guy. And that ultimately we have to be careful with deplatforming people, given that's what Ethan wants to do with Twitch, right? He wants Hassan deplatformed. Why are we trying to give corporations power to deplatform Ethan and Hassan? So remember this internal beef we're all having in our little niche communities? We have to remember that at the top of it is big billionaires looking at us with like, you know what I'm saying? Right? Just as I mean socially, like by the community and not the platform. I'm not sure that that would be possible. What would the deplatforming could look like us not collabing with him, which I think a lot of people are doing, right? But I'm not sure what that would look like. Would it mean like never replying or never like showing his content? Would that mean like not doing what I'm doing right now? What would that look like as a community? Because we're already not collabing with him. Like as a community, we've already decided not to be seen with him, which is, you know, a statement, right? What do you think?
Like a friend of mine. Why would I want to engage with that? What message does that put out in the world? So drop these useless lawsuits, which you know are fucking useless, which you know are fucking frivolous, and which are actively hurting your brand and actively hurting your company and actively hurting Teddy Fresh and actively hurting Teddy Glow. And if you don't think the lawsuits are tied to the Zionism and to just the whole general vibe why people don't like you guys anymore, then you're sorely mistaken. You can go online tomorrow and apologize for every Zionist thing you said. As long as those lawsuits are still up and you're still suing these young, popular creators that people like and want to engage with and want to collaborate with, no one's still going to want to collaborate with you. Okay, look at the fucking harassment that Casey Tron gets on a daily basis. Anytime she puts out a single tweet, it's like, you're going to be financially ruined.
Well, first of all, I don't know, Casey, but I would say that being on X is a part of the issue. I was getting, anytime I put out a tweet, Destiny's people would harass me. And then when I made that call out video about Destiny and I wiped my hands of him and I said, I'm fucking done, even thinking this man can change. The response to that tweet was so horrendous that I just deleted my Twitter. I feel liberated. My life is better. Nothing good is happening on X. Nothing good is happening there. So honestly, is it really benefiting you being there? You know what I mean?
Can't wait to see what happens to you after this lawsuit. It's like, what the fuck? This is the behavior that you're now perpetuating. This is the audience that you now have. You're like, come on, Anthony, we'll send you some free Teddy Fresh. Wouldn't you want?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess I should have been more thoughtful about my answer. Like, if you could choose, would you ban him? You said, thank you for answering. It's nice to have someone as smart as you answer my question. Please, oh my God. If Ethan Klein showed up in my chat on YouTube, I would do what I normally do with content creators who show up and who try to start beef with me. I'd say, get out of my chat before I ban you. I don't want to talk to you. Right? I've had that done. How many times have YouTubers come into my chat saying, like, let's debate. I'm like, get out of my chat before I ban you. And that's usually what happens. So if Ethan came into my chat and he was like, you know, I'd be like, get out of my chat before I ban you. Or maybe I would just ban him outright, to be honest. But I don't want you in my chat. So, but see, the thing with Ethan is I think he would feel entitled to being in my chat and he wouldn't leave and then I would ban him. But the idea is to give people a chance to be like, respect the space. You know what I mean? But he is not entitled to being in my chat. Nobody is entitled to being in my chat. Right? Chat said, I mean, specifically if you had the ability to ban him from social media and talking in public. No, I'm not one of those girlies. I don't know how I would feel about this in a legal way, but I have a very strong philosophy, internal philosophy that says people must come to good conclusions because they are good people and not because they've been shamed to good conclusions. And so I'm very strict about this idea of like, if I had all the power, who would I ban? I don't think that way. I would have to think about it more, but I don't imagine myself to be a person who would like ban Ethan's presence. Right? Like that doesn't feel like a good thing to set as a precedent, but I would, and I remind people of this every day, that I guarantee you a lot of the people that still make Ethan popular are also haters. So like you need to stop following him. You need to stop giving him views. You need to like the reason I'm watching Anthony talk about
Wouldn't you love to be associated with us? No. I'm a fucking guy with 30,000 subs. I have, in theory, on paper, everything to gain by collaborating with a channel with 2.6 million subscribers. Why wouldn't I logically get subscribers? But that's not how it's gonna fucking work. I'm gonna get on your show. You guys are gonna try to fucking railroad me. You think your audience is gonna subscribe to my channel once I ask you repeatedly to drop the lawsuits or try to explain to you why you're a Zionist? They're not gonna fucking subscribe to me. And anyone who is subscribed to me might be like, this guy's a fucking idiot. He went on that show and he's conceding all these points, and they might unsubscribe. You are literally, you have no more like juice to give. You have no clout to offer anyone anymore. Even girl with a microphone that he always calls out and he's constantly boosting her. She just literally crossed like 10K subs or something. And he's been talking about that account and like pushing it and promoting it and promoting it and promoting it and promoting it. And he's been able to help her grow by like a few thousand subscribers, which good for her, by the way. I mean, I probably disagree with almost everything she says, but like she's out there hustling. She's doing an H3 after show. This is sometimes an H3 after show, but like the opposite direction of hers. So she probably fucking hates my guts and calls me a piece of shit, whatever the fuck she does over there. But hey, respect the hustle. She's out there working and streaming. I'm not gonna shit on that. But and like I'm still a tiny channel at 29K subs. I'm not trying to make fun of anyone's subscribers, but like you would think if Ethan was out there boosting a channel every fucking day, she'd be at 20, 30, 40, 50K subs, 60K subs. Why is she still at 10K subs? That is how little juice he has. You got no motion anymore, bro. I got the 30K subs by just like criticizing you, man. She's out there glazing you every day. You talk about her show all the time, yet you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that make sense?
Piece of shit. Pope, more like the pauper. Broke. Beggar.
Like, ooh, Whimsical Wanderer sends $5 and says, could I please email you my 2 articles? The third is almost done. It's about TEI and Teddy Fresh. Alter ego allegations should be fantastic for the lawsuits. Please do, Whimsical Wanderers. Would love to. We have our email address, I think, in our description. It's also on our Instagram and stuff. I think it's donotworrypod@gmail.com. Sunflower Dragon sends $5 and says they've also actively tried to cancel Haas and everyone who disagrees with them. Bad faith actions, which has changed my opinion about them as people. I mean, they've really been pretty fucking horrible, to be honest with you.
They really have been. They have been so scary as a force that people feel like they can't share their honest opinions without fear of retaliation. He's become the boogeyman. Is that racist? No, boogeyman. Is that still okay to say? Why does that feel okay? He's become scary. That if we say anything or if we have an opinion, then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And that's a really scary position for people to feel like in the community. That's what you feel like. You know what I mean? And that's Ethan. That's who they've become.
Nogzalato says, nah, she's terrible. I mean, hey, look, she might be terrible, but all I'm saying is he can't even help. Like anytime, like there was a time when Ethan would recommend a YouTube channel, people would go and fucking subscribe to that channel. And I was like, hey, go subscribe to that channel. No one gives a shit. No one.
Yeah, well, you know, and to be fair, it's interesting. I'm kind of shocked. Does anyone, hold on, Anthony's going to mention a name. I think I know who this is. Girl with the microphone. Who is that? Is that the girl with the brown hair?
No one gives a shit. So to be like,
let me see.
Millhouse missed out from not coming on our show. It's like, missed out on what? You're the only person who stands to benefit from this. Literally, you're the only person who stands to benefit from this because I'm going to go there and tell you what you need to do to make things right with your audience. No one else is offering to fucking do that for you. I don't even know why I'm still fucking offering to do that for you, man. To be honest, I could just fucking sit here, call you a piece of shit Zionist, say, fuck you, look how funny this is, laugh at.
Yeah, there's this like arrogance in the community right now where it's like Ethan could have put you on the map, or Ethan could have shouted you out. But we've learned, look at Cutie Cinderella shouting Vanilla out, and now Vanilla owes her life apparently. Keep your shout out, bro. I don't want it. Because that's what happened with see, I was a full-time streamer and full-time content creator before I met Destiny. But all of a sudden, Destiny's viewers are like, he's the reason you're a content creator. Girl, I was literally my full-time job when I met this man. Literally my first collaboration with this man, I was already a full-time content creator. The arrogance of these communities to think that just because you're bigger, you put us on the map. Habibi, I was already paying my rent. What are you talking about? I was already paying my bills. So like, it's a little arrogant for these people to be like, you're the reason you have a job. Like, sit down. You're taking away all the work I've put, you know, it's okay to say, yeah, I appreciate the shout out. But at the end of the day, like, I'm still the one who has to show up on stream. It doesn't matter how many shout outs I've gotten in the past from bigger creators, bigger than Destiny. Okay. It never like made me a full-time content creator. I made myself a full-time content creator. I did that with my effort and my audience. You know what I mean? Like, that's the problem that people don't understand is, look, I have had so many collaborations with bigger YouTubers over the years, and I never was able to go full time because at the end of the day, people still want to see the content you're making. My content's the reason I'm a full-time content creator, not anyone who's ever come into my life. And same with Anthony. I don't watch Anthony. I don't even know why did Anthony get shouted out by somebody? I found Do Not Worry I think because it showed up on my page, or maybe you guys told me about it, but like, I watch Anthony because I watch Anthony, right? I just like hearing Anthony's opinions. I don't care who the fuck shouted him out. I don't think about it. You know what I mean? I just think I like to hear from his perspective what he's thinking. That's why I watch YouTubers. I don't care who shouted them out. I don't watch people because someone shouted them out. I just want to, like, you know, do I like them? I watch them. If you're a person who only watches somebody because your fave shouted them out, you're not even a real, you know what I mean? A real viewer.
At the Teddy Glow launch, you want me to like laugh at you guys? I'm not fucking doing that. I'm just watching and still telling you guys how to make it right. We could just sit here and fucking laugh if that's what you want, but that's not what we fucking do here.
That reference? Those who play in words? Hope in the popper. Yep. Probably do poppers.
Yo, Mitsubishi Records says peace from occupied Palestine. Are you shitting me? Mitsubishi Records, عم تحكي جد؟ عم تحكوا جد هلا من وين عم تحكونا؟
Hold on, I think we might be reaching the point where we're done watching this.
Anyway, nice to see you, Nick. Beat him up with peace and love. What shirt is Ethan wearing? I need it. You're talking about the jacket, I assume.
I don't care about the jacket. Skipping.
Okay. Interviewed her. I really like the model. And
okay, here.
Was this the same day?
So this one crushed me because I really like the model, and we've had some. Well, we like interviewed her or them a while ago for a potential job. That didn't happen, but I was like, when the makeup launches.
Artful says I was right about the gradient. Let's go back. Just quickly look at it. Yeah, you see, there should have been more of a fade from like
$86.
Blue to darker to more.
And we've had.
It says it was brought to my attention that one of the brand owners of the makeup brand I modeled for is supportive of Israel. I'm disgusted to say the least. When I was presented this job, I had no idea of this, and I would have said no otherwise. I've always been vocal about my support of Palestine, all oppressed, marginalized groups. I think we've already read this, right? I think basically, okay, stop. I think this is it. I think this is mostly what I want to show you. Basically, there comes a point where the models are put in this weird position where they just take jobs and they don't think about it. And I know I have friends in modeling. You know, you get a job, you show up, you don't even know sometimes what you're showing up for, right? You show up for your job and they're like, hey, you're doing this today. You don't even know sometimes, right? And so that's the thing is like some of these people still have to pay their rent. So they're just thinking about it from a work perspective. Like, I'm lucky I got a job. That's the thing about being a model. I've really been thinking about this because I've been watching Next in Fashion on Netflix. And I've been thinking about like, oh, these models don't even know what they're going to have to do. You know, they're just thinking, hey, I was a model. I was on a magazine, or hey, I was a model. I was featured. And they're really using your image and your brand, you know, but that's the thing about being a model. I think in some ways, in one part of, if I was a model, I would think like, I'll just take anything because at the end of the day, that's just what it is. But then when you think about having to take only jobs that align with your values, it becomes much harder. Even as a YouTuber myself, I talk to my YouTube friends about this all the time. Like, it's hard to take sponsorships or work with management companies because they just get you sponsorships, period. But I'm not like a news channel. I'm not a show on TV that just wants commercials between the show. I'm like Brittany Simon, which means like if I take a sponsorship deal, it feels like I have more responsibility, which is so ironic that somebody who's making, you know, less than, you know, six figures a year has to put more responsibility on who she collabs with than somebody who's like uber fucking billionaire rich. They just take whoever comes their way. And look, I've seen people like Jordy, is that his name? He's always made fun of Ground News, but he also says, guys, if I have a sponsorship for Ground News, just know I'm making that bag. And there's something about that feels kind of okay, where it's like, you know, I don't even support Ground News, but I'll take their money. I don't know how I feel about that. I think there's a line that shouldn't be crossed, but maybe I would do a Ground News sponsorship, even if I'm like rolling my eyes through it. I think J-Reg, I could have been wrong. I think J-Reg way back in the day did a sponsorship where he like smashed, was it J-Reg? He like smashed the sponsorship's product. He's like, and the sponsorship never worked with him again. Listen, we all every day have to struggle with how are we paying our bills, which is why I really am thankful for my members. Thank you for being here. It really makes a difference. I have more membership content coming ASAP, and then I'm going to do Love is Blind. I need to prioritize my members because you all make this stuff happen. And at the same time, watching for free also makes it happen, which I appreciate, and sharing it really makes it happen. So thank you so much. But I think my overall thought for today's stream is really about the tone deafness of it all. You know, at what point are we just going to say, I am so sorry and I apologize and I didn't mean to do this? And like these models did, saying like, hey, I am so sorry I worked with this company. I had no clue. And right away they come back. Right away they made a mistake. They came back. But you see how Ethan could never do this? Ethan couldn't do this. And that's why Ethan is going after these models, because he could never imagine doing this himself. He could never imagine it. And look, now that I'm late diagnosed autistic, I have a way of communicating with you guys to say, hey, that's really going to trigger my PDA. Let me think about it. Because right now my brain is really like, it's pretty like combative at that change. Can I think about it and I'll come back? And that allows me to tell you that it's not that I don't want to do this or correct myself, but I'm having like a biological experience that is out of my control, and I have to wait till it's over before I can make the right decision sometimes. So now I have the words for that. Now I know what's happening, versus before I didn't know what was happening. And I thought it was like me. Like I thought it was my own thoughts, but it isn't, right? It's like my body is like sending thoughts to my brain that I'm like, is this real? Is this me? Or is this like my brain is like because we are biological creatures, right? Let's see. Discord said I view joining the Discord and membership as an investment in my future, to be honest. Girl. That's kind of a big deal. I hope it pays off. I hope it pays off, right? Chad says, I just want to know about Ground News. Is it problematic in some way? I think Ground News is just another company that's overpromising what it's actually doing, right? It's not like this great model that's going to save you from biases or prejudice in media. It's just another company who has a really good brand, but it's not like actually going to do that. So, there's some like the branding itself is kind of problematic, but whatever. Let me see. So patiently waiting for the Love Island. It's coming. It really is. It's on my list. I promise you. Now that Mormon Wives is back, I think they're both on Hulu. I'm just going to make it happen. Okay? Just give me your patience. And I promise you, my goal is I have a specific show I want to watch for a docuseries I want to watch for members. And then I'm doing Love is Blind US. And then I want to do Love Island and Mormon Wives. Okay, so those are my lists. That's what I have planned right now. I'm also doing this thing where I'm doing a lot of self-care where I'm not overworking myself because I'm doing too much of it and I'm going to burn out and then I'll be gone for 2 weeks and that won't be good. So I'm doing everything day at a time and I'm just like slowly moving myself into this process. And so far it's been okay. As long as you are patient, it will come out. I promise. It's coming. Okay. Let me see. Is there book recommendations tab in the Discord? We do have a book tab, a reading tab. We do. Let's see. It's active right now. Girl, people are posting. Yeah, we do have a books tab in our Discord. We have books, music, Gamers Unite, food recipes. We have a live stream chat, which I read from. We have movies and shows, adulting hacks, anime and manga, The Coven, Calm Zone, Spoonies, the sequel, houseplants, arts and crafts, fashion, race relations, queerness. We love technology. We have tons of little threads in our Discord. So if you want to join us, you have to be 18 plus and you can't be in high school. My YouTube members, you can be all ages because I make content for all ages on YouTube. But on Discord, it's an 18 plus out of high school zone to just facilitate adult conversations that are safe for adults. Okay, we really value our teen viewers, though we don't have many. My community is growing and I see you. I think you're 1% of my analytics. I hear you. I see you. You are valid. Just for your safety and ours, kids cannot join the Discord. Thank you. With peace and love. Okay, but we support you. We support your learning. It's too much of an adult space. The conversations are way too, we hold people accountable. We have very progressive conversations there. And, we just want to support our youngins by making sure they stay out of the Discord. Okay. Chat says, I know it's not your responsibility, but would you consider doing a little segment to explain how to interact on Discord? Well, I have a little boundaries tab on the Discord as well, which has like all the rules. But if you are on the Discord, the community can help facilitate that conversation as well. If you mean from a tech perspective, we also can help you there. It's hard to explain on YouTube. It's like better to explain on the Discord. And since I never stream the Discord, I don't want my Discord on YouTube. I know some people, like we watched Elle the other day, and she full on had her Discord with everyone's usernames on stream. I don't want to do that. It feels like doxing. So I don't ever highlight my Discord on stream. I just feel like it doesn't feel very safe to me for my viewers, right? But if you're on the Discord, we'll show you how to interact with it. But basically it's just a forum and everyone talks on it and hangs out and tags people and shows photos and like we have a lot of fun. And of course it is a progressive space. So we also mod the Discord. So I mod the Discord. So, you know, we definitely are going to like give a side eye to anyone who sounds not progressive, you know, and I'm like, you know, just that I just don't get how to join. I've tried in the past, but the channel was blanked for me. But I want to give you my money. Message me on Patreon directly so I know what username you have, and then I'll show you how to do it. Patreon also has a good FAQ page on how to join the Discord. The tech can be funny, so I totally get it, but message me directly on Patreon so I can help you get on the Discord. If you're seeing a blank page, it means you aren't being assigned a role. If you're not assigned a role, you won't see the Discord. So that's probably what's happening. You're probably not being assigned a role. Yeah. So Patreon, you sign up for Patreon, you make sure you add your Discord, and Patreon should auto add you. It's a bot. I don't actually do it by manual. It's a bot that ends up doing it. But there have been tech issues in the past. Now, what else should we talk about in regards to this whole topic? Because honestly, that's all I had for you today. That's all I had for you today. Oh, and then use your computer. If you use your phone, it'll be harder. Use your computer. Use your desktop. Good chatter. Thank you, chatter. Yeah, use your computer. It's too hard on the phone. It's like YouTube membership. Sometimes YouTube memberships is easier on the computer. I don't know why these people haven't figured it out, but yeah, there you go. Okay, any last thoughts? What do we think? That's all I had for you today, girls. Short, sweet, to the point. What do you think? What is this? What is this being tone deaf? You know what I mean? Like, what are these big content creators with these positions? What are these movie directors, these people making TV shows? Like, how much of it is continuously on purpose after the fact? I think that's the question, is like, you know what I mean? What is the responsibility people have? I think at the end of the day, the only power we have in this position as a consumer, as a watcher, is just to say, look, if you're not going to make an updated video, I'm just going to go my own way. And look, do this with me too. If I make a stance, if I make a video, if I say something and you're like, hey, Britt, and I go, fuck you, and you go, you know what, girl, I'm going to go do something else, I respect you. Okay? I respect you. If I am taking a position that is offensive to you at your core, girl, I respect you walking away. Because at the end of the day, we're not aligned right now, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're wrong, maybe we're both wrong, maybe who knows? But ultimately, I would hate for you to feel I would hate for you to feel forced to, quote, watch me because you feel some sort of allegiance. Like, same thing with Discord, anything else. Girls, if it is your time to go, it is your time to go. And I respect you and I value you, and you were such a beautiful part of this space. Even if you've never chatted, even if I don't know who you are, I'm so grateful to have had you here, just to have a viewer here. But at the end of the day, I am just a stranger on the internet sharing her opinion. And if it doesn't, you know what I mean, it's not a value to you, then yeah, definitely. Right? Chaz says, I think they get more attention being problematic. I think that's a huge part of it. I think a huge part of the rage bait. That's why we covered Jennifer Lawrence a little bit, I think yesterday on stream. Jennifer Lawrence in an interview, because she's in a movie with Robert Pattinson right now, where she said, oh yeah, I have a fake online account that I use to rage bait people. How is this harm reduction? You can't be somebody who says, I believe in harm reduction. I believe in compassion. I want to help the world. I'm going to make a secret account where I piss people off on purpose. Oh yeah, that's really helpful. That's really helpful. Right? Like, how is that helpful? Right? Chet said, I missed the first 15 minutes of stream, but Brittany, did you talk about fantasy sci-fi media where oppressive dynamics are flipped due to casting? Chilling Adventures of Sabrina? I did not. I think we were talking about... Did we mention sci-fi today, or was that yesterday? Did we talk about sci-fi yesterday, or was that today? No, I didn't. I was specifically highlighted that show on Netflix that I just made a podcast about, the Nobody Wants This one. That's what we were highlighting. Chad says your stance against pineapples on pizza and hate for bananas in general is a little too much. Gonna have to go my own way. Okay, first of all, I also don't like plantains, so I just don't like wet pizza. Pineapples make pizza wet, and I don't like bread that's wet. Like, you know those, what's that, is it a cannoli? What's the dessert that people dip into coffee? My dad loves to put in, he has chai. He'll take his chai and he'll dip fucking bread and crackers into the chai. And I'm like, can we please stop it? My texture sensitivities could never. Okay? Yeah, a biscotti. That's what it is. It's a biscotti. My dad loves that. I'm so texture sensitive. If my pasta is even slightly overcooked, it's over. It's fucking over. When my partner and I go to like time our dinners because we eat different diets, I'll always be like, when are you going to be ready? Because if my pasta, if it's been sitting there too long, I'm not going to eat it. So I need you. I'm going to eat without you. My partner knows that if he does not make his food fast enough, I will start without him because I will not eat my ramen if it's even slightly too, So listen, I love a pineapple with a spice. I love a pineapple even on pizza if it doesn't make the dough wet. Ugh. Okay? I do not like it. I do not like it, Sam I am. One time I was at a Cuban restaurant. Everything was fucking delicious, of course. But then I put this plantain in my mouth and I froze and I was like, is this a banana? And my friend's like, it's a plantain. I was like, so it's a banana? Like, I know it's not a banana, but something about my palate just still doesn't like them. One day though, my goal, listen, if I had a genie and I could make a wish, I would say, please let me love bananas and plantains. This is what I would wish. Okay? Because how fucking delicious would my day start off if I could eat a banana? And how easy would it be if I could eat a banana? My smoothies would be easy. These fruit cocktails would be easy to buy at stores. You think I don't want to love bananas? You think I don't want to love a plantain? I am disabled. I'm palate disabled here. Okay? I'm telling you, it's autism that I can't enjoy a banana. In the texture. So I had a woman in my life at one point who told me to put the bananas in the freezer or to eat them underripe. Hey, you think I would? I've tried everything. Okay? Chet says, you think I don't need potassium? You think I don't need potassium? You think I wouldn't love a potassium? You know what I'm saying? I've tried everything. Underripe, overripe, fried, cooked, frozen. I've tried. Okay? No one's tried to put banana in her mouth more than me. Okay? I've tried. Okay? I've tried. Chad says, if bananas are too spicy for you, then you're allergic. I learned that about kiwi skins. I thought everyone's mouth broke out in like a rash when they eat kiwi skins or if they touch kiwi skins to their mouth. Nope, just me. But I love a kiwi. Kiwis are really good. Kiwis are good for you. Okay, girls, we did it. Is that enough banana talk? Okay, are we done fitting bananas into our mouths? Look at us. We're such adults. Look at us. Grown. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll end the weekend together. Thank you for being here. That's all I wanted to talk about. Shout out to Anthony, Do Not Worry podcast. Shout out to Boys Who Wear Makeup. Shout out to everyone who is a fashion queen, fashion diva. Okay. And I'll come back tomorrow. Plenty of things to go over. Be good to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. And be kind to others. And pray Ethan Klein never finds my channel or ever discovers who I am. Leave me alone. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.